Dave just forgot to hit the button.
I hit the button, but I guess I didn't hit the button.
You erased the button.
I don't know.
It's in his notes.
I don't know what the fuck I did. All right, take it easy. Oreo's going crazy already. Okay.
Oh, he sees the shelves. He wants to leave the house.
He's the fucking good old scaredy cat himself.
Yeah. Hey, your basement looks great, Dave. That looks great. I just wanted to say, how do you see the movies that are on the other side of the rack?
Initially, I was going to do that. I was going to have one in the middle, but here was the deal. I was like, it looks nice this way, but you can only really see them on this side. The other side, the way the lighting is, they're all dark. Like the way, it's hard to explain. I said, you know what?
I'm not just busting your balls, of course.
Oh, I know, but listen,
awesome.
I still take it seriously because I'm all up on it. I'm real serious about it. It's like this Friday the 13th collection that I've started.
Yeah, I saw.
Dude, it's so out of hand now that at the end of the day, I'm going to have 50 things. It's going to be an entire shelf just of Friday the 13th. I ran out of room with everything, so there was only so much Friday the 13th I could put in one room, and I had too many posters already, so I was like, well, I want to make this room just Friday the 13th, but since I'm running out of room with this, and then I'm going to get the shelf in, I only have so many movies, let's make this Friday the 13th 75%, 25% Halloween, the next best thing. So I kind of did that, but now what's going on is I'm getting so much Friday just in the movies. A couple of posters have to stay.
What's he
doing?
Did
I cut out?
Oh.
No, it sounds like Brandon's going, and then like...
There was dust on my mic, so I figured I'd clean it during the Friday talk.
This fucking, you don't want to hear. Okay.
No, I'm listening. I love that you're collecting 87 copies of Friday.
Well,
I like the Saw 4 Friday 4 cover.
Isn't that cool, that fucking Saw cover? Wow, it's crazy. The corkscrew and the reflection in the blood. So this is what's, at the end of the day, I'm going to have 50 different, the whole shelf is going to be different Friday the 13th iterations of DVD and a Blu-ray. I was trying to get, believe it or not, VHS is the most expensive. So you know what?
I know.
It's so fucking stupid. It really.
I was gonna say, can't you buy some just retro looking VHS covers? There's got to be a place.
You can print them off. Yeah.
And then you could just get a styrofoam VHS and put it in there.
Maybe,
I'm just saying, if you had extra room, you could, make, because I mean, you're not gonna.
Or don't put anything in there. Anyway. Just get the cases. I'm sure you could get the cases, like the old school cases, and then just print off the sleeves.
Yeah, but in the video store, we used to put a styrofoam thing in there, so it was firm, so you wouldn't crush the box.
Fat but firm.
Either way, I don't need that because
like a chick I used to date.
What do you say? Fat but firm?
Yeah.
Nice, Miss Ballbricker. What the hell? You should know that one. See, Miss Ballbricker.
Oh, the Porkies.
Of course, thank you. All right. What was I going to tell you? Where was I? Oh, I don't need the retro covers because the DVDs / Blu-rays already have those retro covers. The only one which I do believe we're not going to be able to find anywhere, believe it or not, is that one that everybody kind of hates. But looking back on it, I kind of love it now, and it's the part 5 with the weird looking mask and the red. Apparently,
like this one.
What is that? Oh, that hold on, that's like a NECA or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A toy. Okay, I figured.
That's a NECA wafer.
Yeah. It's just filled with styrofoam.
It's filled with Eucharists.
Oh shit!
I like to snack on them.
We can't.
Why were we supposed to get Eucharist or something?
We talked about it once before.
Oh yeah, it's stamped with our logo.
maybe that.
Head of Christ.
But that is the only one. See, that's the only one I can't find. That New Beginning, it seems like they've wiped it out of existence. Like even in the new set, apparently in the new one that's coming out, from Screen Factory, it's not going to be that. It's going to be, I think, the one that's to the right there with the Tommy thing in it. Yeah. And then on the other side, because they've announced reversible covers, which really got me excited. So they're going to have, how they do with Arrow and Screen sometimes. I put the one thing up, but apparently, now I don't know if this is true, but apparently the thing that's going to be on the other side is that one poster art that just has the words. Yeah, right. It just says, if Jason still haunts you, that thing.
Oh, so, yeah. That was a poster. Bizarre poster, but
Oh,
cool.
if Jason still haunts you, you're already dead.
You're not alone. But it sucks because I like that thing now. It's just you know what I mean. It's like retro. It's
so
cool.
bizarre that you gotta have it. Yeah,
It
I'm
is.
shocked. They gotta include that. If they're putting all the original ones, it would make more sense for them to have that and that as the two options, like
100%.
reversies.
But I think that people don't like that. Don't like that New Beginning one. Most people think it's a piece of shit. It doesn't make sense. Look at it. What's that,
but
man?
that's what it is. That's the whole. That's half the fun about it. It's ridiculous. Like what? Why? Some stupid marketing asshole. Just throw this mask on. It's a hockey mask. No one's gonna know.
Yeah, it's a knockoff movie with a knockoff killer.
Yeah.
It's barely a
Fuck
Friday
'em.
the 13th.
Yeah.
Directed by a porno director. This piece of shit. Put anything on there. Put a fucking dog on there for all I care.
Yeah, Gordon.
You know?
Gordon's the killer in my new
He'd be a
director's
much
cut.
more efficient killer if he wore that mask. It looks plastic. It looks much lighter. It's got way more holes in it. Much more breathable.
He'd be able to hear. Like, why would he put the stupid hood on? Like the bald cap hood.
You know why? We've been through this. First of all, Brandon only likes it because it looks like the fucking Alone in the Dark mask, and he blows Alone in the Dark. Number two, the reason he put the thing on the back of the bald skin head is because if you're going to put the mask on to begin with, the whole idea is if somebody sees me or if somebody gets away, they're going to say it's Jason. So everybody knows that Jason's bald.
Nobody gets away. He kills everybody that crosses his path. And then some that don't cross his path. He finds new paths to try to find people to kill. Like, there's nobody that sees this guy.
I think he wants to be seen from afar, so someone can say, oh, a hockey mask and a bald head. It must be Jason Voorhees.
That would have actually been a good scene. Somebody actually witnesses him and goes to the police and say, I saw him. It's Jason Voorhees. Instead of that cop just pulling it out of thin air. I know who he is, Mayor. It's Jason Voorhees.
You're right. It's Jason Voorhees. Yeah.
Brandon's in hell. I love it.
Isn't that it?
You talking to me, Christian?
Yeah. This is why it's a good fit. Fuck the other guy coming on. I'm just joking.
See what happens.
If he ever comes on.
If he comes on, it'll be a nice surprise. And if not, well, hope you guys still like the show.
If he doesn't, it'll be a nice surprise.
The listeners win. 50-50, the listeners win. So, you're talking to me, Christian.
And I had a nice old school intro, too. I was going to come in with it, but it was going to play into this person being here. I had an old school early episode intro for the show. I was going to come on. I was going to say, all right. Welcome to the Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, episode number 121. I am Dave Z, and I am here with, first of all, the man who loves gifts almost as much as he hates pumpkins. Brandon, what's up, buddy? See, that was.
And you're supposed to respond at that point, Brandon.
What's up?
Okay, yeah, play along. Okay, and I am here with another guy who now is taking the nickname of one host. It's now being placed on another host. I am here with the new jaded one. He's healthy, thank God. But
yeah, I feel much better. I'm doing great, thank you. The jaded one.
Well, you hate every fucking movie now.
Really do. This year, you've pretty much started hating every fucking.
Not only does he hate new movies, he hates old movies that we thought he was gonna like.
Whoa!
I thought you
examples. Whoa!
I agree with him. I thought you liked some of these movies.
Thank you.
I do.
Like, I'm gonna have trouble talking about 4 of these movies. Christian, we're only reviewing 3 today.
Listen. I actually told you guys in chat that my thoughts on this year have changed, 2020, because I had stockpiled. I saved a bunch of the, I think, heavy hitters to later, and then I got to them this week since we recorded last, and I've liked every one of them, loved a couple of them. And one of the ones that I watched tonight, I enjoyed for the most part, but there's such a stupid idea that they decide to wedge in there, which Dave says is the main point of the movie, that I'm like, well, if that's the main point of the movie, then I fucking hate the movie. And
we'll get to that. He's already started. I'm talking about his past hate. He's already hating before we talk about
Jade.
nothing but hate.
He's talking about the hate to come.
Yeah.
He's jaded. Yeah.
It courses through my veins.
Holy fuck, that's fucking jaded like freaking Jade of the Orient.
Is that vein? When you know I'm mad, there's like a vein that pops out of my head.
Oh, look, is that Christian or is that Jade Pinkett Smith?
Waka waka waka.
My gosh. And it was a perfect intro because of the third guy that was going to come in. I was going to say something. It really led into something. So maybe next time. Point is, the show has begun. We are here. And
We have no clue if we're getting a guest or not today.
What do you say, guest or not?
Yeah, gassed or not. We don't know if we're going to get a gas or not.
What the hell's a gastronaut?
It's
I
like
don't know,
when a gas builds up in your
know.
stomach and you just like, and then you just squeak out a fart. It's like.
What happens if you fart on the moon? You think anyone's ever farted on the moon?
That's so disrespectful to fart on the moon.
Why is that so respectful?
I think you just hot box your suit.
There's been what, like 5 people on the moon? 4 people on the moon? 3 people on the moon? 2
So it's
They're all
bad to
Russian.
fart on it because it's undiscovered?
I feel like you shouldn't fart on the moon if you can help it.
Russians don't fart.
I want to be the first guy to fart on the moon. I'd jerk off on the moon if I could.
That would be the
Imagine it.
first thing. I'd step out and then whack at it. Like that would have been the first thing I did. One small step. Step aside, buddy. And have the Playboy just floating up in the air in front of me.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Like it float right into your mouth. Ah!
Yeah, I cracked that. You jerk off in the suit. You're like, uh-oh.
Floating down my throat.
You're trying to deke out the cum. I'm not gay. I'm not gay. I'm not gay. I'm gay. This joke's already happened on the show, so it's a retro joke for the retro opening you gave us. I don't know where that came up on the show previously, but it has come up on the show.
And I'm going to believe you on that. That I do. So the moon. You know, I think that'd be great. Fart on the moon. Shoot a load on the moon. Fuck on the moon if you can.
Take a shit on the moon.
These things have to. I'm a big fan of doing things for the first. Like one year on the it was.
I'm a big fan of doing things on the moon.
Well, not on the moon. Doing things first. Like it was a New Year's Eve when something happens at midnight.
Oh, you were the first guy to have New Year's Eve. I didn't know that.
I want to do shit at 12 o'clock in like, 0 seconds. Like I want to be the first to do it for that year. That's always been a thing. Like one year, my friend, he went into the bedroom and he fucked this girl, right? So I said, well, he took that from me. I didn't move as fast as he did. So I'm going to go in the room next to him. I'm going to take the first shit of the year. And I did.
Or you should have fucked him.
I should have had a threesome. She would have let me and he wouldn't have given a fuck. Damn it. You're right. I should have just barged in.
Tug on my balls. Tug on my balls.
Hey, it was the 90s. Fucking the shit like that went down.
The 90s.
A lot of balls
I think the 90s was the It Follows era where everybody was afraid to fuck. And it was like, oh, just disease. You fuck something, your dick explode. What movie?
Well, right. Wait, whose dick exploded?
What did I steal that from? It's from a movie /
I know where you stole that from. You stole it from fucking Eddie Murphy Raw.
Eddie Murphy Delirious, no? What's next?
I want to say Raw.
You stick your dick in, explode. I think it's Delirious. Because I've watched that way more than Raw. I've watched Raw a bunch, but Delirious is my all-time favorite. So it's got to be Delirious.
It only explodes when it's raw. I don't know. This conversation's making me delirious.
Delirious?
Where did we get? Why are we doing stuff on the moon? None of the movies relate to the moon tonight.
How did the moon come up?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I know. Because he said something, and I thought he said gastronaut, and then some.
Oh, gastronaut.
Something led to the other.
I said we don't know if we're going to have a guest or not. That's what I said. I don't know if we're going to have a guest or not.
Oh, guest or not. Yeah, I was close.
What if we have a guest who's a guest or not?
I hope he comes out and just like farts.
If he does come out, we can call him a gastronaut.
The listeners would appreciate it more, yeah.
What the fuck we're talking about. It'll be his new nickname, the Gast. The Gastronaut. That's
awesome.
Great. Oh shit.
Brendan's
Anyway.
losing his mind. He's like watching Phantasm for the umpteenth time. He's like, he can't take it.
October, be happy. Let's talk about October. It's here. Aren't you guys happy? This is great.
Okay, you know what? I usually don't get okay, it's October. I love Halloween. We all do. But I'm like, but this year's been great because it's like almost atmospheric already outside. We've got the leaves on the ground. I've been walking my son to school every day with my wife, and it's been great. We're walking. I'm like, I'm feeling very October. I'm very Halloweeny. There's a couple of pumpkins out, not like a whole, patio full of them, but there's a couple of pumpkins out here and there, and we're seeing them. And I'm feeling the vibe. I've already started watching horror movies. I don't usually schedule my watches. I don't do the 31 days. I just watch shit. But I've already started watching some stuff. It's great.
It is great. It's so much fun. What's the matter with me? It's the pumpkins.
I don't know. I don't get any more excited for October than I do any other month.
Well, usually I don't either. Usually I don't. This month, for whatever reason, I'm saying it's in the air. I guess maybe because I'm stuck in the fucking house and we've been working from home and everything else.
You're COVID free.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Goodness.
Yeah, me personally.
Yo,
personally, I'm not. I didn't have COVID, but I'm not sick.
Oh no, you had it. Trust me, we saw you.
I did not have it.
We almost put you on a ventilator during Demons 2.
Poor bastard.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was weird though. It was the weirdest sickness that I've had, which is why I was worried that it could have been something else. But I think it was just like a sinus. I want to say sinus thing, but it actually had nothing, no congestion. It was just a killer headache and a sore throat. No cough, no fever, no sinus. It was weird.
Too much dick sucking.
Yeah, that might be it.
Yeah, the sore throat. Yeah.
I was storing it up like a chipmunk in winter, or whatever, like just for hibernation.
All that baby batter on the brain.
Wow.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited. I get excited every October, and I've been watching a horror movie a day since
April.
I'm gonna say since what'd you say?
Well, forever. That's what we do, isn't it?
Well, I wish that. I'll tell you this though. I listened to the radio. I was on the way into work the other day. I listened to the morning zoo, if you will, and as I'm cruising, somebody's talking. These two hosts are talking. And one of them says a report just came out saying that the average American watched 20 movies over the summer. That was their average. And that apparently is high. So they're like, wow. So they watched 20 movies over the summer, and that's high as an average. And I'm thinking, are we really that far gone? That everyone else in the world, I didn't think I was really that bad. You know what I mean?
Dude, but I'm telling you, it wouldn't surprise me if some people watch maybe 20 movies a year.
Wow.
I know people who hardly watch TV.
I don't watch TV, but I watch movies. But
I mean, hardly have the TV even on.
Or it's sports only, and that's all they care about.
Yeah.
And they're I mean, I know you like football, Dave, and I know some of the other listeners do too. But there's some people so ingrained in every sport or a particular sport that's all they care about, and a movie's like frivolous to them. They have no time for it. Whereas I'm like, my new thing now is like movies and then basketball. I mean, I'm watching, like, I even watched the Lakers game the other night, even though like I could care. I'm happy if it's Miami or Lakers at this point. But that's it. That's like my one sport vice. I really don't watch hockey. I'll watch football if I go to a buddy's place or we go out to a bar and watch the Super Bowl. That's it. Or the Hyper Bowl.
Really? A Canadian that doesn't watch hockey on the regular. I'm shocked.
I'm sure every time I bring up that I'm like, oh, have you watched the basketball thing? Most kids, like, there's a few. Like Heather will say, yeah, I watch it. But most of the people at work, they're like, yeah, no. Did you see the hockey game? I'm like, well, hockey's over, fuckface. But no, usually 9 out of 10 times I didn't watch the hocky game. I'm very much a part. You know, like I find it's very funny. Like sports are very much like guys are like yeah. I like to rank what I think would be if I like. Let's say that I'm a gay man. How would I rank the gayness of every sport? And hockey's up there.
How many dicks you suck while watching a game? Yeah. That's how you rank the gayness.
That is officially how Vince would rank it, because he says that you can't say anything's gay unless there's ass fucking and dick sucking between, a man, two men, or I guess, well, without the dick, two women, and that's gay. And of course, I understand that. But I'm just saying, like, sports, it's so funny because you watch it, guys, and how they get into it and whatever. And football's up there, of course, and hockey's up there. Hockey's figure skating with with a couple of sticks and a puck. It's actually gayer than figure skating.
Gayer than figure skating.
I agree.
I like the sports. Believe me, I do. I like hockey. But the thing is, I just don't have enough time. In a way, I feel like I've outgrown it. And I know that sounds weird because a lot of grown men still live and die around it, and they've lived and died around it since they've been teenagers. And I used to be heavy into it when I was a teen, but not heavy that it was gonna overtake my movie watching. I wasn't the guy that's watching the Sabres every fucking night like my friends were. There's too many games. Football, yes, every football Sunday, that's different. There's only 20 football Sundays a year. Fine. But aside from that, everything else I just followed or collected the cards so I was aware. Sometimes I would play fantasy sports besides football just to have a foot into the sport more, and I could talk to my friends more. But I always had friends that also wanted to watch horror movies with me, so I would get like people to watch, and I would. And now it's the same thing, and it's like sports to me. I don't care so much about the competition of things anymore. I think that most of it's a work. In every sport, I think things are more fixed and more rigged now than ever. And you're not going to change my mind, and I'm not going to even have that discussion. But that's just my feel, and I have whatever. I'm not going to get into it, but I just can't believe that. I wanted to average 5 movies a week. I wanted to average 5 movies a week.
Got off topic.
That was my goal coming in.
A movie a day. That's not even a movie a day. That's almost a movie a day.
Correct. It's not even a movie a day.
It's 5 movies out of 7 days.
It's 2 days off.
It's 2 days off. So and people think I'm crazy that I work with. And I see these guys watching this many movies, and it's nuts to think that they were surprised that people watch 20 movies over the summer. I'm like, wow. So that means everybody that I basically correspond with every day, outside of my brother and outside of my family, my immediate family, everybody I talk to on the regular, we're all that fucking far gone that we're watching that many movies.
Yeah,
and I don't think I'm that bad. But you know what I mean? 5 a week doesn't sound bad to you, does it, B?
No, not at all. But I remember like watching TV shows and them interviewing like contestants on game shows. And the guy was like, I'm a huge movie buff. I watch about 100 movies a year. And they were like, what? 100 movies a year? That's like one every 3 days. I wasn't even going to watch that many movies this year. Granted, COVID happened and, stuck in the house. I'm at 421 movies watched already this year.
Yeah,
after 1,200 last year.
I think I'm at 385, which since I've been keeping track, my record, but that doesn't include, of course, like you, Brandon, it doesn't include rewatches. Like I watched the Saw series almost 3 times over. Yeah, this year, and you know what I mean. And then a few other ones that we said doubled up. That doesn't even include rewatches. I watched 3 movies last night.
Wow,
just last night. Yeah.
Nice. I wish I had the time. I come home from work. I get on a treadmill for an hour. By this time, I'm lucky to have to spend a little family time.
Dave. Lucky's the cat.
Yeah, this is true. All right. And I can watch
Rotisserie
one movie a night. One movie.
How come every time he says the treadmill, like, you're not lucky. You're Dave.
Yeah.
If I'm fortunate, I get to watch. Well, I get to squeeze a movie in.
If I'm Oreo, I get to watch a movie.
And eat cookies.
Oh, yeah, I don't even care now, especially if it's an older one, because for new, you got to watch it. You got to try to watch it in one sitting. You just try to give it a fair chance.
Dude, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, but the stopping, I watched it. I guess it's counting as a 2020. It just premiered on Shudder. It says it was made in 2017. This new movie, Rabbit, that just premiered on Shudder. So I watched it the other day. I got halfway through, and I was just tired, so I turned it off. I put it back on yesterday, and I don't know if it was just – I don't know what it was, but I just could not get back into it. And I really enjoyed the first half.
You got to watch the new ones, I think.
Oh, it was ridiculous. It was awful.
Like the old ones, I went back, like that's – because you're saying, how did I do it? Well, I still had to do a couple of pickups because the kids are still dancing and at the studio or whatever. So there's interruptions. I'd watch, an hour, have to go do a trip. Then I finished that one, start another one, picked them up again. That one ended, and then people, the kids went to bed, whatever it may be, and I finished off the last movie. Done. That's just how the night kind of progressed. So I used the time that they weren't at home, so I didn't feel like I was being like, antisocial or not a good parent, and just used the time that they were actually doing extracurricular activities to watch movies at home. And with technology nowadays, which is fan-freaking-tastic, you can actually bring the iPad with you, and I can park in the parking lot waiting for them and watch a movie for half an hour sometimes, depending on if they get out late or not. So,
porn?
Yeah, in the parking lot, it's perfect. Yeah. It's just that glow, and then my face is
especially
like this.
Outside a kid's dance studio.
Yeah, it's perfect.
That's my favorite place to watch porn, too.
And then you just try to rapidly hit the stop button when parents try to come up to talk to you. It doesn't look like you're like guilty at all when you're doing that. It's coming through the speakers.
You gotta get what I have. You gotta get this thing on the phone. It darkens it all out so nobody can see what you're doing unless you're like right on top of it. So anyone to either side of you, they can't see it. It's called privacy filter. And my wife got it, and I said that's a great idea. So when we upgraded phones, we got it. And I don't know anyone else that has it. It's not really expensive or anything, but it's perfect for an iPhone. You're right there. You put it on. Nobody can see what the fuck I'm looking at. It's awesome. Not that I'm watching.
I got one too. That's how mine looks.
Nobody can see it. Not even
me. You see it? Yeah.
No.
That's because it's off.
Fucking asshole.
I deserve that.
October is here. I'm gonna be happy. Like I said, I was saying earlier, I've been watching a horror movie a day for all of October since like 2002. Right? I've always done it, and what I used to do was that fucking asshole too. Actually, he's not an asshole. He's not
Davey.
What's his name again? Petey.
Davey Z.
Davey.
Davey Z. That's the guest speaker.
Yeah, this is our guest.
Guest speaker. That's even more insightful than what the other one would have said.
Nice. So this is what I've noticed this year. It's so great that it's October, and every post I'm seeing is somebody doing 31 Days of Horror and putting that. Now, I venture to say, not even when I first started doing Facebook, let's say I'll go back 8, 9, 10 years, I used to do a thing every day, and I called it the Horror-a-thon, which, of course, I took from Halloween 3, and go, this is day one of my Halloween Horror-a-thon, and I will put it up, and everybody would respond. And back then, nobody was talking about doing it online. I would say maybe 4 years ago, everybody started really getting into the 31 Days of Horror. I've been doing it since 2002, but here's the difference. Back when I used to do it, what I would do was I would take like a bunch of movies, and I would write them on a piece of paper and put them in a hat, and I would draw each day whatever came up I would watch. Then I started doing the stuff that a lot of people do now. They have a certain, day one's got to be a movie about, a rabbi. Tomorrow's movie has to be about a goblin. The next, everybody's got real specific. It's got to be about this, this, and this.
Yeah. Why is a rabbi associated with horror? And why is he immediately followed by a goblin?
I don't know. It's the two randomest things I can think of.
Is he a cheddar goblin?
Oh, fuck that cheddar goblin.
Cheddar goblin.
That's the funniest part. I love that movie, but I hate the cheddar goblin. And everyone that usually loves the movie loves I don't hate the goblin.
You know who else hates it? You know who else hates the cheddar goblin?
I hope he chimes in all show, Davey.
He might.
That's okay, let him. I'm okay with him. But everybody's doing the 31 days, and it's cool, and everyone's doing different things. This year, you know what I'm doing? In the last couple of years, it's whatever mood strikes me. I go up, I look, I see what's there. I have ones that I know I'm going to have on certain days. Mm-hmm. Right about now, it's not even what mood strikes me.
The funk's your brother.
The funk's your brother, yes. Now it's podcast movies. Day one, fucking Oculus. Day two,
the Mike Merriman story.
Oculus is Mike Merriman story.
You said it's podcast movies. Oh.
Oh, fuck it. Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
I still don't get it, but I'll just smile and nod so that I don't feel like left out.
It's
Canadian
fair.
Doesn't get it. Shock. The air must be real thin up there today.
But I'm real happy. Everyone's doing 31 days now. It's really cool. A couple years ago, I think I hit like 68 movies. There was no goal. It's just like, I'm just going to hammer them home. And I do. And it's fun that everybody's doing it now. Only thing is, because everybody does it now, I'm excited to see it. It makes me happy, but I'm more reluctant to talk about mine. I don't know what that says about me. I've always been that way.
You're an
I'm
asshole,
happy.
but we all know that about you, and we love you for it.
Do you think it's an asshole, or
No.
what do you think it is?
No,
like when things get too popular, I'm not into as much anymore.
And and we all slightly fall victim. I try not to. I try not to. But that's it too. Like, I mean, that's the same way. Like, if there's a beloved movie that I've watched that I loved when I was a kid, and someone is just shitting on it, I don't have the energy to start defending it, but I just get annoyed by seeing the post, so I just ignore it. And I think that's it. And then
who's shitting on a movie you love? Do you even love a movie?
Oh, this guy.
Yeah, Videodrome. If it's Canadian, he loves it.
That's it.
Which I never understood that. I have no. People are real big about hometown horror. I've noticed. I know this from listening to podcasts. Like if this guy's from Detroit or something, he loves fucking Evil Dead. If this guy's from here, they love. I never got that. Like, I'm from Buffalo, and I think like there was a couple movies just because they were made in Buffalo. I don't give a fucking. It's a great movie or it's not. Like if Friday the 13th was filmed in Buffalo, I mean, is it possible for me to love it more? I don't know, but I mean, that would even have it more pedestaled. But I'm just saying. Like,
you'd go crazy about that if that was the case. If there was a Buffalonian
if it's Friday,
film,
I already love it. That's different.
Yeah.
But like The Burning, I found out years later that The Burning was filmed in Buffalo. I'm all waving the flag.
North Tonawanda.
Slasher, right? Specifically, NT, where I'm from.
I know.
So that's crazier. But I'm not waving the flag. Oh yeah. It's the best non-franchise slasher ever. Of course not. It's simply not. So I never understood that hometown thing when it comes to movies. But
who are you going as for Halloween this year, Cropsy?
I think we just he is. He just doesn't understand why.
He's watching The Burning every day for each of the 30 days.
I think what I'm hearing more, it's just like, hey, that was filmed right around us. I know that this year, for whatever reason, there has been a chunk of films filmed in the Burlington-Hamilton region that have popped up, and that's cool. It doesn't mean the movie's escalated. It's just more of a cool factor involved. I think you're taking it one step further, that you're hearing people say they've got to love it because of that factor. And
doesn't it seem that way when you hear people talk? And that's what I've always.
In certain cases, but I don't listen to a lot of podcasts anymore.
I skip all films filmed in Burlington. I don't understand the appeal of filming in a coat factory. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And I thought that Burlington Coat Factory was only a local place until I was like in my 20s.
No, they're more than just coats.
Because of this place. I know that. But because of Burlington, Ontario. So I thought it was something that was started there, and we had him in Buffalo because it's a spinoff, like Tim Hortons, how that began. You know what I mean? So I thought...
I don't even know what you're talking about. There's a Burlington coat chain?
You never heard of Burlington Coat Factory?
You fucking serious? The guy from Burlington doesn't even know this exists?
No.
Burlington Coat Factory, we're more than great coats. Is that what they say? More than great coats?
I've heard of the old Hyde House. It's worth the drive to Acton. That's for the Canadian listeners.
What did you say? It's worth a drive for Acton.
It's worth the drive to Acton, and that's just for the Canadian listeners. So Heather.
Okay.
Do you think they should do an updated version of Videodrome where they stick a 4K inside James Woods?
There's no physical media. We told you it was going to be called Digital Drum. We already went through this.
Oh, shit. It's crazy, though. What does that... I'm trying to figure out what that is, though. Like, with me, and I always love something, and it isn't that I love it. I love Friday. It didn't change that I noticed that everybody else loved Friday the 13th, too. I still love it just as much. But it's like, when something that I think I'm the only person that's into is doing it, and then all of a sudden it gets more momentum, and then I'm just, like, not as passionate about it anymore, I guess is what it is. I don't know what that is and why I feel that way. But in this case, I'm very happy because I know that it's all Halloween and everyone's happy. So that's awesome. I just don't care as much about my 31 days now because everyone's doing it. I almost feel like, well, it was almost like I'd be jumping on with everybody else when I've been doing it forever. So I don't want to come off like jerky because I seriously don't feel. I'm like, I know I don't want it to be that way. You know what I mean? But I have to be. I'm always honest with my feelings. Like everything that I like, like the Christmas Story, I was always into. I think I told you guys this story before. For the first couple of years, it came on HBO. Nobody knew what the fuck it was, and me and my family were quoting it for like 2-3 years. The first couple of years it was on cable, and then a few years after that, they started playing it a little bit on TNT, and then it just getting more and more steam to the point that it's now where it's 24/7. And now that everybody is into the Christmas Story and quotes it and this and that, it's like it's not as special anymore because it was like this was something that I was into, just me or small. And now everybody's into it. It's like, you know what? It doesn't seem as special anymore. I guess that's what it is.
Yeah. There's no other way.
I get it. I get it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Anyway, I am thrilled. I'm thrilled it's fucking October. It's great. Everybody's posted. Aside from two shitballs that tried to ruin my fucking shit yesterday online, which again, respond once at the most and then don't go back to them again because it's not worth it.
I missed this. Enlighten us. What happened? On our page?
No, nothing to do with our page. It has to do with Skeleton Crew stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those gnarly bones.
Skeleton Crew, they put out a surprise show yesterday, right? There are going to be a total of 8 episodes throughout October, and then it's over. Half of the shows were already recorded with one host, and then he's not on the show, and then other people are on other shows. But the thing is this is the last time the Skeleton Crew is going to be around. It's going to be overnight. There was a farewell tour. It's for fun. It's October. Why not do fun shit for the listeners? So 8 shows are going to come out this month. So a show was posted about Skeleton Crew putting out a show, and one of the former hosts came on and trashed the idea and said this and that. And there's so much stuff that goes on that's been going on for 2 months that's never gone public. Everyone else took the high road, but Alex retired for a reason. You could kind of hear me allude to it on the show when he was here. I'm like, he goes, no, I'm not going to say anything about that. Just making sure. I said, this is a safe place. But anyway.
Look, we all know Jamie could be a pain in the ass.
Oh, shit. But anyway, it's not my place to say it because I am not a Skeleton Crew host, at least not now. You know what I mean? It's not my place to say any of that stuff, but something happened, something was said, and it was like, come on, man, give it a rest. And then the worst part is the person made a post and said all this negative shit, and then said Happy Halloween. I'm like, really? What the fuck? Why do you want to fuck with somebody's October? Just go with the flow, man. Let people have fun. They want to have fun. But no one's ruining my October, damn it. I mean, this year has sucked so bad. I mean, shit. Let October at least be good. It's really sad that Halloween was going to be the best one ever, and now it's not. But, hey, what are you going to do? We got to make the most of it. You know? Just let this damn... I'm so glad the election is early this year. It's like a couple days after Halloween, and then everything's in the past. Fuck that shit.
You hope.
Well, they're never going to stop crying. Whoever loses, the other side's just going to cry harder for the next
one way or the other.
That's
exactly.
Really all it ever is. That's all it is. You have this group of people crying and this group of people crying. Which one's going to cry? Well, the losers are going to cry harder because that's what they do. But, oh, well.
All the time. But,
What?
sorry, they cry harder. That's what do I have to say here, Brandon?
Oh, they do. Grown men and women. Griping and crying and bitching and moaning. Just enough of it. Just fucking celebrate your life. Enjoy your life.
Just like every hockey fan out there when their team loses.
Cry, little sister. Hockey's not a sport.
It is. It's just the gayest sport.
It's a dance with a puck.
And
there's no way. The problem with this is I probably can only get away with those comments if I was actually gay. So I probably offended some people out there. So I apologize. But the reality is that like I take it from a satirical standpoint, and you can either buy into that because you've known me for this long, or you can hate me for my comments. But the reality is,
anus is flaring up with anger.
Well, it should. It should. And it's time.
Dave, you all right there?
I'm thinking about how to address what he was saying because I know there are gay listeners, but the thing is they also
I don't think
know
they'd
us.
be. And again,
Right.
if Vince was sitting beside me, this is the relationship we've got. I don't like.
Right.
Am I a homophobe? Absolutely not.
Of course.
Absolutely
Otherwise,
not. Never
Vince,
happened.
Get the fuck away from me. Stop sitting beside me.
Here he is right now. No, just kidding. But the reality, sucking my crumb. That's a Borat reference because Borat 2 is coming soon, and that looks fucking beautiful. I can't wait to watch that. Borat 2 or Borat subsequent film or whatever it's called coming October 23rd. I'm looking forward to that. Halloween or not, I'm watching it. Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I love that more things are coming home, just like this craft movie's coming home instead of making us fucking sweat it out. You know,
movie or show? Is it a
What's
remake or is it a show? I thought The Craft was a show.
No, it's another movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Pass. Hold on now. I heard. Speaking of that, son of a bitch. I'm so glad you said that because this will be the last thing I get into, and I have to say it. I talked to Glenn Wolfe.
Uh-oh.
You know, we talked about it. Yeah. Now, you put out a challenge, and Glenn Wolfe says to me that, you know, he listened, and this is his response. Okay. Tell Christian I'll take him up on the offer, and the movie I want him to watch is Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College.
I make a joke about that all the fucking time, about ghoulies that haven't gone to college. So now it's my funeral. Okay, Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College for next show.
No, he's only kidding. No, it's okay. He was just busting your balls.
I'm doing it.
Do it. Why not? Why not? You're watching a movie a day, right? Fucking do it.
Or 3. Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College. It's on the fucking list.
And here's one more thing. We've talked about online things and posts that are stupid and that they have no right and you know, just for fun. We talked about Welp and everything else and all this shit and how I don't like the unpopular opinion post and the negative post. What's the worst horror movie you've seen? Here's
Wrong
my
answers only.
Thing. What do you say, Gary Coleman?
Yeah, Gary Coleman. What you talking about, Dave? Wrong answers only.
Wrong answers only. Sucks dick, right? But here's the one. That I've noticed lately, and it's really ridiculous. I'll give you an example. Maniac is the best slasher movie of all time. Change my mind.
Oh, that's been going on for the last year, and they'll have like that meme. The meme with the guy sitting at the bench or the table, and then they pop in whatever they want to argue in the spot on his paper that's hanging off the table. Drives me fucking Batsy.
Episode 121 is going nowhere. Change my mind.
It's like, why do I want to change your mind? The meme doesn't bother me so much. It's kind of cute.
Just go nope, and then delete him as a friend.
But I'm not that type of person.
Because you know it's a guy that's put that post on. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm going crazy. I am filled with rage.
See?
I'm more machine now than man. It's like I'm turning into the Vader.
Oh shit! But seriously, why do I want to change your mind? What the fuck do I care? You think Maniac's the greatest slasher? I'll salute. So be it.
Salute.
You know what I mean?
You should just have a meme of you holding a glass of wine going, salute.
What the fuck? If you think it is, who am I to come on there and shit? It's like, it's bad enough that people shit on everybody's opinions as it is. Now you want to come out there and you want someone to shit on your opinion. You're asking for fucking someone to say your opinion's wrong.
Pay attention to me, please.
What's that?
It's a pay attention to me. Just put a post. Pay attention to me, please.
I might do that. That's fucking great.
I mean, let's face it. That's what we jokingly say. Social media is that. Look at me, look at me, look at me. We try not to be. Like, I'm trying to be on this just to do the podcast or to say I'm looking forward to a movie. And that's what I try to do. Yeah. You know? But then I'll post a stupid picture of me in a fedora. And then I have to get Mike Merriam talking about how many fucking hats I have in my closet. And,
Mike who?
QB.
Whatever his fucking name is.
I was waiting for you. Mike Merriam. Merriam Crane. Oh, no, that's Merriam. Merriam Webster.
Merriam Webster.
Eric Webster's sister.
Can you define Mike Merriam?
Mike Merriam.
Merriman, whatever the fuck. Who gives a fuck?
Fresh
I like Dave. Dave's making football references. QB.
Hello, I'm Mike Merriam. I'm the host of Fresh Cunts.
Change my mind.
Change my mind.
Yeah, I get it. Those drive me nuts too. Like, what? Why? What is the point?
Wrong answers only drives me nuts, especially when I don't know what the movie is. Usually they're obvious and it's just for like a laugh or a giggle, but sometimes somebody will post a movie. I'm like, what's this from? And it's all wrong answers. I'm like, what the fuck is this from? Seriously.
Yeah, I want the right answer. Well, somebody give me the right fucking answer.
You know what? I'm saying. Anytime we see a wrong answer only post now, we should just put the right answer first.
Oh, that's how to fight it. You're right.
That's how to put the right answer and then put change my mind. Right answer.
And then put a whelp in there. Whelp, last house on the left. Change my mind.
You know which ones I actually find fun? I don't know, maybe because there's a little bit more to them. Brian does it on ABC's on their page. He'll say, "Describe this movie without giving away the title," or something to that effect. That I like. It's like a game, and that is fun.
That's fun.
Because it's not like it's not some assholey change my mind or like you said,
or replace a word with fuck. Yeah. Fuck Mayor on Elm Street. Fuck Mayor's not a word, asshole.
Fuck Mayor on Elm Street.
Those ones suck too. Yeah. I love how we put ourselves like we're on pedestals right now. Like we're like just looking down at the fucking masses, going, "You all fucking suck."
Because we can do that because we have a small audience and they like us. And if they didn't like us, they would stop being Patreons. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Delete. We love you all. Long time.
We do love them all. I mean, and they know who we are as people and hosts and everything else. So it's like that's what's great about this whole scene. We don't have to worry about that shit anymore. You know, we just and a lot of times when we go on these discussions, people will comment. I agree 100% with what they said here. You know what I mean? And it's all in good fun.
And if you don't agree, let us know. I mean, you don't have to agree with everything. Obviously, that makes it boring. But it's
Chris,
just
Chris, aka Scott, is gonna post in the group page. I'm withdrawing my Patreon pledge. Change my mind.
That's more of a Marco. That would be a Marco comment, I think. Yeah.
Oh, change my mind.
Oh, are we getting into this thing? I feel like we've given this other guy enough time to not show up.
We have.
All right, are we starting with Oculus?
Let's do it.
All right, Oculus from 2013, written and directed by Mike Flanagan.
Mike Merriam. Oh, sorry.
Mike Merriam-Webster. Christian.
Oh, me.
Gold. A woman tries to exonerate her brother, who was convicted of murder, by proving that the crime was committed by a supernatural phenomenon.
And speaking of Merriam-Webster, this movie was given to us by Eric Webster. Not his sister, but Eric. Eric, yes. So.
Dar, she blows.
Not his sister. Miriam.
I want to know if he has a Miriam in his family. Eric, by any chance, do you have a Miriam in your family? Probably not. Maybe his great grandmother or something.
I watched this way back when, and I wasn't blown away. Wasn't that big of a fan. I remember then we started the show after this came out, right? Because this came out in 14?
13.
13?
14. Yeah, it probably came out in 14. It was made
so, so Dave, I think on the year before, you said it was on your top 10 list.
Yeah, it was. I think it was like number 8 or something like that. Yeah.
I've not gone back to revisit it, to be honest, until
Does that mean you're not going to be contributing?
This week. No. Yeah. I never went back. Fuck you, Eric. And you guys take it from here. No, so I went back and I went in open-minded. I said, look, Dave had this on his list. I remember Brandon, I think, said he liked it too. I was in the minority. But this is it. I've said this before, I'm hot and cold on Flanagan. I was putting this in and I sometimes I think he's great. And then sometimes I just find these characters are bland. I don't care. I just don't care. So I like the idea of what they're trying to do here. He's got a good premise. There's some good stuff here, but I just don't really care.
I'm not saying this is his strongest film, but I still think that he's got a perfect batting average for me, a 7 for 7.
Me too.
And I just feel like he has a real talent for story.
And I'll give you that because the story, that is the good part of it. The idea and the story and the back and forth is what keeps it entertaining. I don't know if it's miscasting, or I don't know if it's just that, like, I needed something more to make me care about these people we're watching on the screen. So there's an aspect of the story there that's missing, or that was maybe taken out of the movie.
It's weird because I like these characters, but I understand what he's saying because this has a typical ending that I generally wouldn't love.
Okay.
Because, I don't like downbeat endings. I'm more of a, let's have a happy ending. But I really actually enjoy this ending. And I don't know if that's because I don't care about these characters or or it's just well constructed within the story, which I tend to lean towards the latter. But I understand where Christian's coming from. Maybe, I mean, there's not enough time. We get right into it, so we don't really get the full effect of these characters really until very late. The flashbacks get a little crazy in that third act, which little issue with, but it really doesn't come together until the end, and that's why I think it has more of a emotional impact at the end.
I understand the notion. Of not liking characters and not, caring about what happens to them. But I don't understand in a movie like this that sentiment. Just because you see the trauma that they go through as children, and you see the result as them as adults. So I can't knock what you're saying. It's your opinion. You just didn't get the feel. I just find it strange that this would be the movie that you would say that about. Because to me, I do care about the characters because I think the way it's constructed, I don't know. You're supposed to care about it. For me, it worked. Well, I don't think it's just the greatest, but
I think it works by the end because it builds to that. The flashbacks come slow and steady throughout, that we're still getting a lot of stuff even in the third act, so that when it all comes together and the truth is, finally revealed and all that, even though, we're led to believe that these are honest people. They're not crazy, even though they kind of plant that suspicion early in the film. It might be a little too late if you're not that into it.
Well, and I think where he gets points is the fact that he is trying to do original stuff, and at least try not to just give us the same old story. So I respect that. Yeah. I do like that, and I can't knock that because that's what we want. And so it's funny because I'm very much in the minority when it comes to Flanagan. I think all horror fans seem to think he is like the next best thing, if not the best thing we've got right now. And I'm not quite there yet. But again, like you've said, 7 for 7. I can't agree with that. But I'm just saying that for this particular film, something I guess is missing. I think maybe because we introduced him as adults, maybe I needed it more linear at the beginning and have it build up and have maybe some of the story told more as children.
Yeah.
And then,
well, that's the thing. It's like I said, it's told so back and forth with the flashbacks, flash forward, that you're not getting all the pieces until pretty late in the film. So if it's not getting you into it very early, then you're going to kind of be a little checked out by the end.
And for a big thing about remember our promise, like it's really just thrown in there. He's being driven away. There's a lot of commotion. He's in this police car. It's just like, remember, I promise, like we promise, or not to say anything, or we'll figure this out, or whatever. She's yelling at us. He's being pulled away in a police car. And he's like, remember what, bitch? I'm being taken away and thrown into the can for like 10 years.
Well, no, but she said it inside the house.
Right.
So,
okay, then take away everything I just said in the last 30
seconds. Yeah, she said inside the house. When we're older, we'll come back and destroy this evil.
Sorry.
And that's what's great, because early on in the film, his doctor, right when he's about to get released, says, your sister has been on her own dealing with this trauma. Protect your recovery. Kind of gives Tim a warning.
Okay.
To sort of, reconnect with your sister, but be careful. Protect your recovery. And immediately he falls into her, okay, I got the mirror, I got the laser glass, we got a few days to destroy it, let's do it.
What I do like is that she seems to be the one that should have been in the asylum. He seems to be the maybe whether or not the asylum worked for him. I know why he was there. I mean, because obviously he was they thought he was the one that committed the crimes.
He shot the father,
yeah, exactly. And so like there's a valid reason, but I'm just saying she's gone crazy. But you don't see that extent of crazy until things start happening that prove that she isn't insane. I guess,
it's so weird. They really don't give you much in terms of making you think she's crazy. There's only one scene in the movie where she has that Boston Terrier that she's using as bait, and she calls it Mason, which is the dog from the kid. But that was just sort of
flashback. It makes sense. They flashback the whole movie.
Yeah, and then she's screaming at the dog Mason, so it was already the house messing with her. They don't really give you any idea that she's nuts or any of this isn't real.
No, but what they do well, and that's why I care about the characters, is because you see Tim coming out coming from being, having to deal with doctors all this time and him giving the clean bill of health, if you will, coming out and he's trying to be rational, saying, hey, listen, sis, what are you doing here? I spent all this time in there and I've been convinced that everything that happened was this and this, and I'm going to spit at you all my freaking terms, psychological terms, and say, this is what really happened here. This isn't what you're saying. And then you feel bad for him because he's trying to convey this, and now, oh boy, he spent all this time getting good. Now he's got to go through all this crazy shit. And then you feel bad for her because she stayed on the outside and she couldn't talk about this with anybody. Yeah. She never got any therapy for it. She never got anything. She has this husband and he doesn't even know about this part of her life. She's kept it under wraps. So all these years she's been keeping it quiet, now she can finally do something about it. So I don't know. And of course, because of the trauma of their childhood and what went on. So I do feel bad for the characters, but I will agree with what Brandon said about how maybe if they didn't do as much of it in the third act as they did, maybe C would have felt for him sooner, or it would have worked better from a narrative standpoint to have them. But the thing is, I don't think they could, because the way they were showing when shit hit the fan in the third act, when they're looking around the corner, they were seeing this and they're seeing now the present, and then they're seeing the past in the same room at the same time. So I don't know if they could do it a different way in this movie, not using that type of structure. But
when shit hits the fan, that's when I think Flan goes overboard and goes into his Flanaganisms, and I don't find it scary. It feels like, then I feel like it's been there, done that. The demon, everything that's supposed to be the amped up scares seem kind of blah.
Well, first of all, they're ghosts.
What did I say?
Ghosts were alive and now are dead. Demons never existed in our plane of existence.
An instrument of evil, a demon. Yeah.
No, I agree with you about the Flanaganism. He does it here again. I get it, trying to do the mirror eyes, the reflection of the soul. They're evil.
But this is the first time he did it. Hold on.
I know this is the first time he did it.
This is the second film. He didn't do that in absentia. This is the first time he's done that.
Yes.
And think about what you're saying.
He's continued to do it. I just find, for me, ghost stories are most effective when the ghosts are either regular-looking people. You could have them lurking in the shadows the same without the mirror eyes or the glowing eyes, or the ghosts are not present at all.
Most regular people say. Sorry.
For this one, keep the ghosts. Just get rid of the eyes. Like the scene where you first see Kate Siegel, she's sort of lurking in the background. It's creepy. You just see her dark shadow, and then the eyes light up.
And then when they get the Betty Davis eyes, you're kind of like, that's. It's too much, and then I'm like, he just aped himself later on in life again. Now maybe that's the connection, and if you're a fan, you're like, oh cool, call back to Oculus. But I looked at it, seeing it back, because I don't remember that. So now that Dr. Sleep's come out and I'm come back, I'm like, oh, he just regurgitated that in Dr. Sleep, eh?
Dr. Sleepy eyes.
You know what though? James Wan does the exact same shit. He always has. He does the stuff that he does even in Insidious. He also does it in The Conjuring. And
did he invent the Flaniverse?
But here it is. Take that, Jamie.
He loves him. Yeah. You gotta start saying the Flaniverse, Jamie.
Flaniverse. Stop causing shit in the Skeleton Crew chat, Jamie.
Awesome. Having said that, Insidious and The Conjuring came out 3-4 years before. So, I mean, maybe this is a sign of the times, and maybe this is what we've gotten used to, and some diehard fans don't like that, but they were already established, and now this film seems like it's just a copycat. So while he's got this amazingly kind of original take and story, he falls victim to these sort of tropes that have just been established, and I think he's better than that. And again, it goes from the glowing eyes, the extended mouths, and all that stuff, and everything else.
As Jamie calls them, it's true.
And so I'm just saying, that's where I'm like, but how could it be that you've got this original take, but then you fall victim to this, or you fall into a trap? And again, it's just that I can't separate it because I admire what he's doing with the story, but as I'm watching, I'm like, ah. So then by the time it gets to the end, I'm just not. I have no investment in there. I'm just wanting it to end.
Wow.
I'm not saying I don't have any enjoyment here. I don't want to say that it's a failure by any means. I'm just saying that I think there was so much more potential that I just didn't see as a result or at the end. I just feel like it definitely didn't live up to where it could have gone or been as successful as it was.
I disagree with that.
And that's fine. And I'm almost positive I'm going to be in the minority with this one.
Well, you're pretty jaded, but that's okay. I think it's got some effective scares. I love when she first confronts the mirror again in the gallery, the reflection of the, well, I mean, they're not ghosts, the statues, and then the third one appears.
Oh, it's great.
That's really tense. But my favorite part of this movie is when her and Tim move the mirror into the house, set up, and then she's giving the history.
Oh.
That
so
is
awesome. I'm a sucker for that.
I love that. In a 10-minute scene, she gives all the history, and it finally, not finally, but it starts to make sense what's going on here. That whoever the last person killed becomes an evil entity of the mirror that haunts the house. Because the first person who's killed, this Lasser guy, who's burnt beyond recognition, they talk about immediately after he's killed that people start seeing him, and the church gets involved. And then each subsequent person that gets killed haunts the following person. It's almost like a chain reaction. And then we get to our last victim before this family had it, which was Marisol Chavez, the girl who they talk about who had the miscarriage.
Well, that is good stuff. That's the stuff of ghost stories. Like you give the lore, the history. That's what is great.
But great imagery too. The woman who chewed on the wire and her face is all burned, and you just see see that.
Oh, that's great. How about the one guy, which I think is great that they don't say anything else about it, except that he was over 300 plus pounds.
Yes.
And
he withered away. I thought a thinner.
Yeah, I did think of thinner. They showed him he was thin, not sickly thin, just like a regular person, but that's all they had to tell you. And you create the rest in your head. That's what I like. And I am a sucker for lore, just like with in that movie Clown. I loved how they did it there, how they went into the history of the cloin. They do it here as well. Now, this is what I love about this. This is what I love about this. Yeah, the cloin, right?
Yeah, the cloin.
So that's it. That's what it was called.
The loincloth.
The cloin. So anyway.
Loincloth.
Cloincloth, yeah.
Loincloth.
Instead of loincloth, cloinloth. I got you. Cloin sloth. Anyway, let me go back to what I was
you cloin.
Wow. What they do here and what they do in Clown as well. And I said the same thing when we talked about Clown, is you're taking an almost 80s movie type premise and you're putting it in modern time and you're finding a way for it to work. This is a movie about a haunted mirror. That is not something
haunted mirror
you see this day and age. That's something that would have been a haunted artifact movie from the 80s, a simpler time when they did things like that. The fact that you can make a movie about a haunted mirror and she goes into that whole spiel with the history of it, I'm a sucker for that. I love it. And they make it work here. That's what I love about it. And do you know, and I'm sure you do, B, but I didn't notice until this time that Marisol was the woman in the freaking in that the father was messing around with.
Yes. Yeah,
I never this time. Only reason I knew is because I went to IMDb and I was trying to tell my wife, because she's seen a lot of Flanagan things with me, including the show, The Haunting of Hill House. Which, by the way, have you seen that?
No, and Jason again, because Jason Marco Polo, he was talking about that show out of the gate, The Haunting of Hill House, saying it was the best thing on TV.
He was the first person. He talked about it before Flanagan even.
Yeah,
made it.
I think Flanagan had him as the
Well, you must see that. And my wife has seen just about all the Flanagan movies with me now. So every time one comes out and I'm watching one, I go, well, this person appeared in this movie and this person. So I was going to see, because he does that a lot. He has the same actor, which is great. So as I'm going by, I see Kate Siegel. I said, wait a minute, who did she play? I don't remember her being here. And then it said Marisol. I'm like, Marisol, okay. So now as she's giving the history, she goes, in 1975, Marisol so-and-so did this and that. And I'm like, oh, shit, that's her. I'm like, okay, that's it. And then later on, she comes back in and she's the other woman, so to speak. She haunts the guy directly. I thought that was so cool, and I didn't know until this time. But I really enjoy it. I really enjoyed it.
And I think they needed something more with the father. Like they get the mirror in there, and then the father's talking to somebody, and the mom overhears. There needed to be something else needed to be developed there. I find it's missing a component, and then suddenly he's being seduced by this mirror. Doesn't want to spend any time with his family, locking the door. I feel like there's something missing in that portion of the film.
I love it though. I think it has some feelings of The Shining, especially the reveal when she goes into the office at the end and she sees that he's just written Marisol over and over on the paper. He hasn't been getting any work done. He's just obsessed with it because, I mean, the mirror's right there. So, of course, the evil's going to speak to him. And I love the way it sort of, like, feeds on everyone's fears and insecurities. For the kids, it's the dog. It's Mason. It's driving the kids crazy that, Mason disappears. And for the wife, when she hears it, the grotesque cow comment, and then later the very Videodrome-esque scene where the scar's open and it's like pulsing. Ooh, like ooh,
that was good too.
It reminded me of you, C-section.
That was going to be remember that was going to be a segment, C-section. I think
can still be.
And then
Dead Male came back, by the way. Dead Male just came back on the last episode of 22 Shots, so I think it's only fitting that Undead Male also makes an appearance.
Makes a return.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
I'll do it then.
The other scene that stood out that I liked is when she stabs who she doesn't realize is her husband or boyfriend.
Yeah.
That reveal, I thought that was really well done.
Her fiance, and they keep playing it back because they don't know, they can't trust the house.
Yeah.
That whole thing with the alarms, every hour we got to eat, them seeing the video of them turning the cameras towards each other and stuff. Like, it's really some cool stuff that the house is the mirror is just fucking with them and making them delusional. That people, I mean, even again, going back to the history, the woman who drowned in a bathtub full of water. Yeah. Or people starving to death.
No, she didn't drown in a bathtub.
I mean, died of dehydration.
Yes. Like, that's a stretch. She drowned in a bathtub.
How the hell do you drown in water? What do you mean, stop? I bought you dinner, didn't I?
Oh, shit.
You love it.
I feel like I am jaded on this because you're all bringing up great points, but yeah, I am a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's her. Maybe it's the brother and sister growing up. I don't know. It's something I just can't connect. I can't connect to them.
Kid versions or adult?
Connect to her.
The adult versions.
Really, I like Karen Gillan. I think she's terrific in this, and
I do too.
Yeah.
And she's great. Good performance, pretty girl. I liked him. I liked him as kids. The girl is from. She's one of the girls from the Ouija movie, the young girl. Not about the other sister. Yeah, which I want to give that movie another chance. I mean, I own it, but I've only seen it one time at the theater, and I haven't seen it since. But I've long since said it's his worst movie. I still gave it like a 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
I want to revisit it now. It's been how many times have you seen it, B?
Once, also, but I'm also right there, like 6.5. Like
I want to go.
Yeah, me too.
And that was my lead. I think I have that and this one, like kind of neck and neck.
Wow, no shit. I didn't think you'd be that far down. Wow, interesting.
No, there's like I said, there's some interesting premises here, but based on the fact of what I don't like, I can't be higher. And I was really trying to like go into it based on my newfound love for Dr. Sleep. Because I was kind of like mixed when I first saw it. I'm like, there was so much to like and absorb that I think I was just harder going back through my head, so that the second view was much better. So this one I was going in with an open feeling and open mind.
Dr. Sleep. That's interesting because the older sister was in Doctor Who.
Kelly who?
Look at him dropping.
Karen Gillan was in Doctor Who. She's Guardians of the Galaxy. She's Jumanji. She's like a huge Hollywood star now.
Wow, damn. How about the bulb scene? I think the bulb scene is awesome.
Oh, damn. How about the bulb scene? I love it. That's the best gore in the movie.
I'm not even thinking about from a gore standpoint. That's the funny part. I just think of the mental trick. And imagine if you did that. You know what I mean? Biting into a bulb. Oh my god! I guess it is gore if you think about it. I just, that gets me every time.
Holy shit, B! She's the girl. So that older, the girl that plays the older sister is the girl from Jumanji and
Guardians of the Galaxy.
She's awesome in those.
Yeah, she's a
so
huge
why don't
star.
I not like her?
She's like, she's
like I think she's actually like, because I watched the Jumanji movies with my kids and whatever like that, and like she's great in them, and she's great in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I like her in this. I'm not saying these are the strongest characters in the world, but I cared about them.
Definitely.
Certainly. But I was for the sake of defending C, I was more into the lore of the story and that cool ending.
Awesome.
Than anything. Whereas if I was really more into the characters, I would have been like, fuck this ending. I wanted a happy ending.
Well, he's gone for good now, right? He's going to be locked up for forever.
Unless she can remove a boat anchor from the back of her throat.
Ouch.
She looks like Vince in that picture.
You know what she reminds me of? A redhead version of Christina Applegate. That's what I kept thinking of in this movie. I thought you were
going to say Nancy because of how quickly she set up that anchor trap to smash the mirror on the top of the ceiling.
She was there for she had 8 years to
I know.
Okay, all right. I thought it was going to be a criticism.
No. I'm being an asshole. I just
It's actually Christina Red Delicious Applegate.
Ah, she is Red Delicious, indeed. Although, did you guys notice he was really trying hard to have her hair bounce and move around in the back when she kept walking? I think that was like a directorial, choice. Did you guys notice that or no? It seems like she was trying really hard.
At the beginning? With the ponytail just bouncing back and forth almost?
Back and forth like a dog wagging its tail and boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
There's got to be a reason why he put it there, but yeah, I don't know why.
That's the Flanaganism.
Yeah.
That's another Flanaganism. Bouncing ponies. Awesome.
At least it wasn't a rocking pony. That would have terrified you.
But I think it's really good. I like what they do. It's a fucked up movie, and that's what I like.
It's very trippy and mind-fucky. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's doing. It's playing with your sense of time and reality, and it does it really well with the characters. Tim, very early on, he doesn't remember getting back into the house. All the things that they're showing, like, that they're doing, it just becomes unraveled so quickly. The time when she wakes up and the anchor alarm's about to go off, and she's, like, sitting right in front of the mirror. It's sort of foreshadowing, but it's also like a really cool scene. It's like, oh fuck, this mirror is evil. It's really fucking with them.
I like when they twist time like that. It's almost like Blair Witch 2. When you go back and you look at the video, you thought this happened, and then they go back when you finally see the proof, and you see that. Let's watch the video. They look and they show them setting up and pushing the cameras together to face each other and doing all that stuff. I love that stuff. I love when
should have been called Video of Shadows. I didn't see any book in there.
True. I like when they get manipulated like that, and everything that happens with the mother, we haven't even touched on. That stuff is sad and sick, but great. I mean, the stuff that poor woman goes through, and she's eating a plate, and she's got no teeth, and she's locked up in that room, and everything, and how they bring the kid over, and the father just plays it off. Oh, my kids are just making this up, and it just flies by.
I like the way he chokes her out. He puts her in like a rear naked choke.
Yeah.
He MMAs her. Just go to sleep, bitch.
Mommy's okay.
And the 911 call, and how it happens again years later, it's the same voice, and it says
same
whatever.
Voice, yeah. I need to speak to your father.
Yes, it's like Southbound kind of a little bit.
Very very trippy stuff. The fact that the mother starts pulling her teeth out, very reminiscent of the stories, in the past where people were ripping their teeth out. They go through the whole history. I can't even remember, but they said like something like 45 deaths over 4 centuries.
Correct.
I mean, that's awesome stuff.
Yep.
I mean, and
it is awesome.
She's chained. She's oh man, it's horrible.
It is. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's supernatural stuff. You got that thing going on. It's almost like something from Girl Next Door or some shit. You know what I mean? Just some torturous shit happening. I quite enjoy it. I don't know what else there is to say.
I like the fact that the mother at the end, she has like that moment, like where she kind of comes back to herself for a sec.
Yeah.
When she's strangling Kaylee, and she kind of she catches herself right before the father shoots her. Like she's possessed by this evil, but she's not too far gone. Where the father's just like full on gone. It's very Amityville too, with him like walking around shooting everyone. Had that feel to it, that really disturbing. Holy shit, this guy's murdering his whole family.
And that you good point. Everything you've talked about sounds great. It sounds amazing. Somehow it doesn't have that emotional weight to it. You guys seem to think it does, but for whatever reason, you just described it to Amityville 2, whereas there is some, maybe because of the sleaziness of it, just because of how sort of explicit it is, that seems to work. This one never gets to that level. Everything you described, I'm like, holy shit, that is horrific. But for whatever reason, I never felt that while watching it. But talking back, I'm like, yeah, man, that's crazy shit. But for whatever reason, it was missing that emotional weight for me.
It happens. It doesn't always register for you. It doesn't always register. I'll say one more thing: the score, really good score. I listen to it sometimes. It's an underrated score, but it's really quite good. So if you're on Spotify or Apple or something, just get on there and give it a listen. It's solid.
One little scene I probably would have changed. I would have had the father be the one reaching out to Kaylee through the mirror.
Instead of
the mother.
Maybe the mother's reaching out for a different reason. Was it
I feel like the mother is reaching out for the protective, but I feel like it would have been more of a oh my god, if it was like the father like reaching out, you saw like he's trying to like reach out for forgiveness, and then of course Tim drops the anchor, and it just was more trickery on his part that he was still evil. I feel like she was reaching out to like almost say like, I love you, I'm going
I
now.
like that. I want some sympathy for the father by the end. Why not?
No, this wasn't the father. This was
I
the
understand,
mother.
but what you're trying to say is you want the father reaching out and continuing to be evil as the ship's going down. I think it would. I don't like that idea. I would rather get some sympathy for the father at the end. This relationship, because remember how she defends him and she even slaps her brother for talking shit about, you're not allowed to say that about him.
Well, that's the point I'm making. It would look like sympathy, and then thing would drop.
The way you said it, I thought you were saying coming out in an evil way.
No, he would basically call to her like embracing her like the mother did it, but it would be him, and then the anchor would drop, and then you can make up your mind: was he really embracing her, or was he drawing her in to the spot so that Tim would kill her?
I agree with you. That would have been better. Yeah. Damn. I will say this: I did pick up on the Flanaganisms, and I thought of Christian right away. Even though it was the first time it happened, as I'm watching the movie, and I saw the first couple of times with the yellow eyes and some else, or the bright eyes, and something else happens, and I'm like, "Yep, Flanaganisms. It's true." I can definitely point them out.
And when you go watch Ouija 2, that's the one you're going to notice the most.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think between Ouija 2 and you'll just see it if you want. Yeah. You report back.
And you know the girl in the beginning.
Hush has a lot of Flanaganisms.
Hush does not. Hush has none.
You can't hear. Nobody can hear in any of these movies. What a Flanaganism.
That's what it is about Flanagan. And I noticed that the girl in the beginning doing the auction is the lead girl from Absentia. I noticed her right. I go, wait a minute, and then that was her.
Well, I like that too. Like, I mean, not that it will change anything about the movie, but I like the fact that he does reuse performers. I always dig that when a filmmaker reuses the same actors over and over again, even if they're smaller roles or whatever. I'm
gonna reuse you.
So go ahead and use
recycle.
Everyone else does. You guys remember that commercial back in the day? The talking phone book? So go ahead and use me. Everyone else does.
That must have played right after the Burlington Coat Factory or whatever the fuck it's called.
The Burlington Coat Factory.
I can't believe it. I figured it came from Burlington. And it did. It was just the guy's last name, apparently. Anyway, I'm done. 8 out of 10.
I'm done too. 7.5 out of 10.
And I think just you guys talking it up, I admit that watching it, I was underwhelmed. Talking a bit about it, I feel like you talked me up a bit. I'm 6.5 out of 10.
Hey, Hall of Fame.
That's fair.
Not even close.
It's a passing grade though. 6.5 and higher.
See, I do come out. I will admit that I come out kind of aggressive with the way it by no means fails. Just from the originality of the story alone, it passes. There's no way it would have been a 5. I just talk kind of an extreme sometimes.
Let me stop you there for a sec.
We're not doing the joke. I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to keep talking. I'm going to be rambling on and on and on until you lead us into the next movie.
Which is
now.
What are we doing next?
We're doing the Lodge.
Did What's-His-Face wake up yet? Did he wake up from this slumber?
He saw the message. I saw that. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I should hang up on him, and then maybe if I hang up on him, he could join. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Well, just try, because I would feel guilty. But right now, I'm just saying the listeners have a better show as of right now.
Indeed. I say just continue on and hope for the best.
All right. So is this our first 2020 of the year that we're talking about?
Yeah, nobody picked them until now.
Yeah, finally we're getting one. The Lodge, made in 2019 but released this year. Who are these directors? Severin Fiala and Veronica Franz. A soon-to-be stepmom is snowed in with her fiancé's 2 children at a remote holiday village.
Tell you something.
What? Just as relations
holiday village.
Yeah, that's what it says.
It sounds like there's a fucking like Santa's village with a bunch of elves in the workshop. And...
That's why I paused. I'm not even done reading, but I paused because I saw remote holiday village. I'm like, who the fuck wrote this? They never saw the movie. Just as relations begin to thaw between the trio, some strange and frightening events take place.
Thaw. Oh, I like how they wrote that. Thaw.
Ooh, clever.
Yeah.
The movie. Clever.
Listen, it looks great. The performances are good. My problem with it is like at the halfway point, I was actually all in, even though it kind of lumbers along there a little bit, and it's slower paced.
Lumber? Because it's in the cabin?
I don't want to jump right into it, but when it takes a story turn and then they reveal what that story turn is, that pissed me off.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you.
I was like, you're trying to sell me on this? And I'm being very cryptic right now because I think we're all going to go into it. And then it kind of took me out of the movie. So that I couldn't enjoy the ending, which is actually quite good. But
yeah, I love the last scene of this film strictly because of the turn the film made, which I didn't like. So by the time that last scene is shown, I'm like, good for you, Elvis Jr.
Well, so that's
she's Elvis's granddaughter.
Yeah, that I didn't know, but that's I will say that was it would have been a top contender, and that one decision that they made dropped it down to just good.
It's very, very methodically paced, and it drags. It does. It's not even close to the most boring film of the year, but I find it boring after the first act. I find it boring once I get to the cabin, to be honest. I love the first act of this film, though.
They really needed to get back to Dad. They needed to cut back to Dad way earlier than they did. But the reason they didn't is because of the stupid plot twist that they tried to wedge in that ends up not being what it is. Now, Dave, you're creepily quiet, so I have a feeling you love everything that happened in the movie.
I'm not going to say I love everything that happened in the movie, and I am having correspondence with our special guest right now, so that's why I'm doing all this typing over here.
Is it F-U? No, I'm just kidding.
All right, I'll just set up the story so people at least understand what's going on if they haven't seen it. Mia and Aiden, brother and sister, their mom commits suicide after their father asks for a divorce because he's remarrying this young girl named Grace, who's a former cult member whose father was like the leader of this suicide cult. And that's basically the setup. And then it's 6 months after the suicide, and they're planning on spending Christmas together at a cabin.
I'll have to add this. That suicide, one of the best things of 2020.
I just wish it was me.
So
You're not the only one.
It is a great suit. It's very shocking.
So matter of fact, so shocking, so out of nowhere. I'm like, this movie, that was like, boom! It, like, with the opening and how I was like on board. I'm like, wow, now that's full head explosion. I'm right there. I agree.
Right out the back.
Right in the back. I agree. And I was like, what? And then even my wife's like, what happened? She thought something happened in the house. I'm like, no, something just shocking happened on the movie I'm watching. And I'm liking it. And
are you clueless? I was clueless when that happened.
She sure was.
The whole beginning, though, I thought they were just remaking the crying video for Aerosmith because that's all she did. I was crying when I met you. Now I'm crying. You do it, Dave, because I can't
trying
sing.
To forget you.
Do what you do to me. You know?
Yeah.
Boy, that video was great. I wish it was. Anyway, I'll tell you this, though. Wow, what a shock it was. And it looked great, too. It was a great, shocking scene, and it looked great. It looked like legit. I was like, wow.
I was like, what the fuck?
Has anyone seen her in anything since?
As if.
That's method.
Oh, shit. No, that's horror.
She's from San Salvador. It's an entirely different country.
Salvador. By the way, I was watching Sopranos today, and they were showing when Tony was a kid in this quick scene, and sure enough, when they came in the house when he was a kid, his mother had all the furniture in plastic, all the plastic coverings.
That's very Italian. It's so Italian.
I know. Fucking B. Anyway, what a great, shocking scene. It's always great to see her, but the way that happens, I'm like, holy shit, wow. But getting back to your first question, my feelings on this movie, I saw it the first time and I had questions when it was over. I talked to a few people and I didn't understand what happened in that one scene of the hanging. And I go, well, wait a minute, how did this happen in this? And why was there a newspaper? And then somebody told me, they go, well, no. Wait a minute. All this was plotted. But here's the thing. They didn't like it for that reason. Me, it went up for that reason. I said, oh, so they did this, and this, and it backfired, and they got their comeuppance. That is freaking great. So for that reason, I loved it. Now, this is the third time. I saw it the first time. Like I said, had questions. Then after I got that info, I wanted to watch it again, which I did. I bought the Blu-ray. This is the third time. The first two times, I gave it a rating the one time. I gave it another rating the second time. I did not write my rating down here because it could go up or down depending on this conversation. I don't know what I'm going to say.
Change my mind.
Yeah.
Were you going to say that, Christian?
No, but that was perfect. It was just perfect. No, full credit.
Change my mind.
Awesome.
This is my rating for the Lodge.
What I wanted to say. Perfect. When I put my cryptic type in there because I wasn't sure if Brandon had watched it yet, and then he said he did, and I kind of spelt it out. And then you're like, yeah, and they got their comeuppance. It's the exact way you just described it. I'm like, okay, but they're not. They're kind of sweet kids that are just bitter about the whole thing and blame her. But to go to this level of detail of such a weird thing, and then pretending that he hung himself, I had all these questions too, and I thought they were dead. So I thought that going that premise was actually kind of cool. I'm like, did we just turn over? Like, what happened to the food? What happened to the coats? Where did they put them? They can't just be all under the snow. Everything fucking disappears in the house.
In like the basement or something. They showed you. They showed you where everything
was. I must have been asleep at that point.
It was very Hannibal Lecter-esque, the way these kids transformed into just these evil geniuses. I love the first act because there's so much emotion there. The funeral scene with the balloons, when the doll doesn't fly away, the way she cuts the hair to look like her mother, the way Aiden comes in and sleeps on the floor and is holding her hand. I was like, man, I really feel for these kids. And I really felt for Grace, too, because, you know, the one thing I pick up from this film is that even though I guess we're kind of getting into spoilers with this, even though so if you haven't seen it, stop and watch it before you listen from this point.
Yeah, please do. Anyone, like, seriously, if you're, let's give them like 30 seconds.
Yeah, no,
Let me just say this while we're waiting. This one comes from Eric J, by the way. I didn't put that out at the beginning, so I wanted to say that. Thank you for being the first to pick a 2020. But yeah, anyone that doesn't know anything Want to give you a little bit of time to stop and come back because it's not worth it. Watch the damn movie, please, and then we don't want to spoil that stuff for you. So just get it out of the way. I know some people are driving or walking and they can't reach their stuff, or you know what I mean, to pause it or whatever.
We might have to warn people in the description because I think we already talked enough spoilery things that it probably be better in the description, which is fine.
Well, I just think that when it turns out that they're gaslighting her and trying to drive her nuts and drive her away from the family because they hate her. Also, the fact that they flash forward 6 months doesn't help it because it seems like 6 months of planning. It just feels so evil. And
it's not 6 months of planning because they only find out on Thanksgiving and they're going to go on Christmas. Pardon me? No. It's 6 months later when it's Thanksgiving.
No, I know what you're saying. I'm just saying, like the fact that they waited so, like, it's weird. They were seeing Grace before then. This isn't like the first time they're meeting her.
No, but they weren't spending any significant time. They were putting up with her, probably a dinner here, something there, whatever it is. But I don't think that they were spending significant time. And certainly, see, to me, the girl is just an accomplice. Mia's just an accomplice. This is all really orchestrated by, the older brother.
Aiden.
Aiden is the one that orchestrates all of it. He's intelligent enough that I could see him doing the newspaper thing, the harness, and having the idea of the heater. The girl's a little young to come up with anything. So I think he sits down, and he's the most angry about it. She's sad. You feel terrible for her right off the bat. Even on the ride up, you see that she looks at her mother putting her lipstick on and this, and she knows what's going through her mother's head, that she wants to get back with her father. And then she asks, is she going to be there? And then she goes, oh, she's such a retard. She says, this is what the young girl says. So I understand why she's against her. But I think that but Aiden is very upset about it. He tells his father to fuck off on Thanksgiving. We don't want her to come. It's her fault. And he goes,
so he's got less than a month to plan this then.
Yeah, I don't care how long he has time to prepare it. I'm just saying that he is, to me, at that age, he is intelligent enough to orchestrate this idea. Because he's very angry about this fucking shit. And I don't.
What idea? She was an ex-cult member. He automatically knows because she's an ex-cult member that she's frail and easily manipulated to be tricked. That's a crock of shit. Like you're just saying. Well, how does he know that? Oh, I read up that she was an ex. I read up about her.
He knows that she
was a survivor.
Yeah, he knows she's a subject of the father's book, and that's how he met her.
She's all fucked up.
But still,
that's not
he calls her a psychopath. He goes, "You left mom for a psychopath," he told her. So he pretty much feels this is a weak person that's gone through some crazy shit. I'm going to fuck with her because guess what? Who knows what's going to happen? She's liable to fly off the handle and be exposed in front of my father, and then we don't have to worry about her anymore. That's what I see it as. He's going to come up with this plan to get her out of their lives because he is downright pissed that his father did this. He blames her for the suicide. The way it plays off at the end is that he was probably seeing her before they separated or whatever. Maybe he's just straight up cheating, whatever it is. He hates her for that, and then he hates her for what happened to the mother because of the effect that it has, not just on him, but his little sister whose fucking soul is crushed.
I get all that. It's just the timing doesn't work out for this. Like, there's so much that has to coincidentally happen for this plan to come to fruition. But the dad leaves and doesn't come back. That's all. Like, the snowstorm hits, so you can't get up there. Come on, it's just too much to throw the audience off.
Let me tell you why.
All right, go ahead, Dave.
I'll tell you why I disagree. Number one, we knew that the father was going to go away. As a matter of fact, he was supposed to be gone for more time than he ended up being gone for. The only reason he stayed longer than he was because of the accident on the ice. And then he calls into work and said, listen, I'm not going to be able to come in. It's kind of an emergency. You're going to have to postpone it. And then when he was going to leave, he tells her, and he's like, are you going to be okay? And he's like, yeah. He goes, as a matter of fact, she goes, I wanted you, I told you before you could have been gone the whole time and it wouldn't have been a problem. That was already the plan. She goes, don't worry about it. It's only going to be a couple of days now because you're staying. Just go. You know what I mean? Okay, let me finish.
The only thing I don't like about that is that given that it's their first Christmas without their mother, there's no way the father would leave them alone.
He's a shitball, and I'll get more on that later. He's a fucking shitball. He doesn't care. Why do you have a problem with a guy being a fucking shitball? A bad parent. Bad parents are fucking all over the planet. So just because you think you're a good parent or would be, and I think I am, it doesn't mean that there aren't parents out there that are maybe in the back of their head saying, I'm going to force these people to get together. First of all, if he was a good parent at all, there's no way he would even bring her there on Christmas Day. The kid even said that to himself, Aiden. He goes on Christmas Day of all times too, he tells him. This guy is a fucking shitball. He's not regarding his children. He cheated. He did this. He tried to replace her. It looks like looks like the same girl almost. It's like a newer model, basically. She looks a lot like her. They had to be done with intent. But again, what the hell
very
was
true.
I getting at?
I agree with that.
There were two things I was gonna say. I gotta rewind now, and I lost my thought. The first thought was, Christian, what was your beef? Because I was addressing both of them.
I would say that there's too much in the way of coincidence that has to happen for this all to play out. The dad leaving and it being stuck away with the snowstorm. The snow. Okay, them burying the in memoriam picture of himself framed that she digs up. All this stuff, the hiding of the clothes. She looks everywhere in the house. She doesn't come across where those police. Well, that's your ass. Those are the things.
These are stretches. No. These are stretches.
On my part, these are stretches?
On your part, yeah. And
I'm fucking crazy.
Let me explain. The first, I told you the first thing that I said about the plan. And if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. He's a kid. He's going to try. He's going to do what the fuck he can. And if he gets busted and it doesn't work and he gets in trouble with his father, oh fucking well, things can't get any worse than they already are from his perspective. He's at least going to try. Now, as far as the snow goes, I treat this just as I treat the Shining when they go up there and it's just known that snow comes this time of year and roads are closed because it's mentioned when the guy leaves. There's a good chance the roads are going to be closed, and when the snow comes in, he tells the girl, hey, listen, you can't go out there. There's a good chance that the roads are closed. You're not even going to be able to get into town and everything else. And even if the roads weren't closed, it's still fucking cold. He's still going to hide everybody's clothes. He's not going to anticipate that this girl is going to walk to the fucking town to escape purgatory. So I don't see a problem.
Yeah, that's where I agree with you, Dave. If she doesn't leave to try to get to town, he doesn't plant that picture in the snow. He plants it somewhere else.
So be it. He could put it in fucking
and the fact that yeah, no, exactly. And the fact that they found a good hiding spot, don't forget, it's their family cabin.
Correct.
You see the video of them with the mother up there. That's fine. Where my issue is that I just don't give a shit. I find it very slow paced and all that. But also the fact that I think Grace, I like that they do this, but I also don't like that they do this, is that she's coming unraveled long before these kids even start fucking with her, because she's hiding the medication from her father. And I also find it ridiculous.
She's not unraveled. She's on medication. She hides it from him all the time, probably. It's not unraveled. She's on meds.
No, she's having these. She's hearing things. She's having these images, these reactions to the religious imagery.
Doesn't that make sense?
It does make sense, but she's sort of. This is before the kids even start doing anything. She's sort of becoming like unstable around all of it.
It's an uncomfortable situation to be in.
And then she starts saying that she's going through, that she needs her pills. There is absolutely no way you would have withdrawal from missing 2 days of pills. Absolutely.
Nah, for psych pills you would. It isn't withdrawal.
No way.
It's fucking stuff that you have to take every day. It's like someone being on lithium. You can't miss a day. I know somebody that was on lithium. You can't just miss a day.
It's just ridiculous to play it into the fact, I need my pills. I need my pills. Like,
it's a movie. Fucking, it's a thing in a movie.
Somehow, okay, well, I guess what it boils down to is the way they try to manipulate the audience into thinking it's going a different route is a complete trick. I don't feel like they've given you enough to digest. You can only go like something like The Sixth Sense, and I'll bring The Sixth Sense up because I think they do a good job of and maybe someone could argue against that they don't, but I personally think that's a great movie. That reveal at the end is fantastic. This one with that hanging, when you see him hanging and they're trying to get us to buy that he faked the suicide and all that, and he's just trying to convince her that they're dead, and see look, we're dead. I can't even commit suicide here or whatever. We're in the afterlife. I feel like is such a far stretch that I'm not on board, and I get angered by the fact that they tried to push that the way that they went.
Why
I don't
you
find
go
it.
as far as I think it's well played. Why wouldn't you try as hard as you could and have that as a backup? Say, just in case she doesn't believe it and this and that, let's try. I'm going to try to, have a fake suicide and show her that I can't die. It's easy to do. You do a harness. I mean, it fooled me as the viewer. Why wouldn't it fool her? I don't see that being a problem.
Maybe we needed more from the character then, because I don't think him saying "fuck her," I don't want her there, and all that shit was enough to say now I'm a fucking mind manipulating psychopath. Like
exactly.
Like there's too much of a jump.
It's better watch out. It's better watch out all over again.
And now I can maybe see your argument for that, even though I enjoyed that one. This one, it looked like you're like, what? They needed something else, like a conversation, like he's had anger issues or whatever, something. Like he's like considered like, just like you said, they've been through a lot. He's angry about it. Like any kid in a movie that we would have seen this about would have been angry that A, their dad has seen someone new, and now B, their mother committed suicide over that. It took it to another, but to the level that it took it without any other sort of hint or any other sort of carrot dangled, it's too far of a leap.
It is. So, and even though, like you said, everything is capable of being done, printing out fake obituaries with modern technology, all the stuff, the fake hanging and stuff, like it's all believable stuff that you can learn how to do. It's all, trickery and stuff.
I would do it.
Which is fine. And I believe it. And I do love the shots of the dollhouse, how it starts out as the picture perfect like image of like a Thanksgiving holiday. And that's really the last image we get, only it's not ideal at the end. And I like the way it changes throughout when the story progresses. It becomes disarrayed. Then the father discovering it and seeing that it was all plotted out, seeing the stuff hiding in the house and all that. That's all great. I'm with Christian. It just feels like such a leap for this kid to turn out to be such an angry like psychopath. And that's why the passing of the time makes it a little bit more unbelievable for me, because I know they're not spending all this time together, and this is their first opportunity after finding out on Thanksgiving that they're going to be alone with her for Christmas for a few days. But 6-7 months later, and you're still carrying around all this anger and aggression. There's a disconnect in the family. There's a
hormones, just like he says.
It's a disconnect. I don't know. I just can't get on board with it.
And that's it. And that's why I said I love the setup, and maybe what Brandon was saying, Act 1, and then it falls apart in Act 2, and then somehow it comes back on board, and I'm on board for the ending. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, you motherfuckers, you tried to do what to me here? And that's why I said, after I've viewed it, which I never really care, I usually just take the movie as is the first time. I'm like, did they really try to sell us on this? After trying to play it out like it was the others for like a half an hour of the runtime? Or whatever?
That's what I like, the flip. But hold on. Christian, I'm going to agree. I understand where you're coming from, that it is quite a leap, and that it may have benefited from a little bit of character analysis going into it, or character build-up, showing that he had some type of issues in some place or another, or behavioral issues between maybe over the last 6 months, the shit you pulled at school and this and that. Why buddy? Yeah. I agree. It doesn't hurt me as I'm watching the movie. Now that you've pointed it out, I could see that. But I also will say this. I'm the kind of person who has that type of mind that I could and would do things like that if I were in that position. Now, just because I have that type of mind, I think my daughter does too, it doesn't mean that I have to be a problem child to lead up to it. I could be perfectly, you could see me from afar and think that guy's perfectly adjusted and everything's cool with him and everything else. But just because I have that presence of mind and that cleverness, if you will, and that evilness too, maybe, to come up with something like that, it doesn't mean that I have to be showing it to everybody, like a lot of sociopaths. You don't know they're that. But again, I do see where you're coming from, but my side of the story is you may not always need that. And then as the viewer watching the movie, if you know that he's already doing that, now it's going to plant a seed in your head that when this shit's going on, oh, wait a minute, this asshole's trying to pull this shit over on her. If you don't see him that way, then it becomes a flip-flop and it's a reveal where I was along for the ride like you. I thought it was purgatory or something or this or that. And then when it happened, I was like, oh, I didn't expect that to be. To me, that was kind of cool. So
it should have been cool. But I think they needed, again, but without those and you wouldn't have get, oh my God, this kid had some problems. He's orchestrated all this, but at least it would have given you the breadcrumb path, trail, whatever, some hints at the beginning to lead up to it, so that when the reveal happened, you would have been like, oh yes, instead of like, what the fuck?
See, to me,
and that's the difference.
It's a bigger deal because there were no hints of it. So it's like, pop, it came out of nowhere. If you had the breadcrumbs, then it's like, okay, well, that's not that big of a surprise. He's the little prick. He's been causing trouble. Why wouldn't he do this? Now, if you just see a little bit of it, you know what I mean? To me, it's a better twist for that reason.
I feel this is perfect. You mentioned evil. You mentioned twisted. We do have our special guest here. And I thought maybe we should bring him in because I think he probably has some thoughts on this too, no?
Does he? I don't know.
that was
Gentlemen, what's up? So I've been kicking back listening to this review, and first of all, I'm disappointed in the high level of analysis here because this is exploding heads. What's going on? Christian, okay, but here's the deal. Mr. Watson, hate him. Guys, what's up, Dave? I've missed you, buddy. Brandon, thanks for the invite. Christian, fuck you.
Yeah. Sorry, listeners.
Guys, I'm loving what I'm hearing, and you know what? I don't mean to be reductive because it's sounding to me as I have come midway through this review, Dave is all about it. I know where Christian, I know where Brandon stands on it. I'm surprised to hear that Christian maybe isn't about this as much as I would have thought. Forgive me for being my usual reductive self, but you know what it is, and I told B this the other day. I was like, you know what? This is a masterfully crafted movie. The filmmaking here, there's nothing I can complain about. It's almost perfect in its execution. But you know what it is? Just like with Goodnight Mommy, their other story that these people have written, you guys, it's kind of like that movie and Blasphemy here, High Tension, where it makes perfect sense to me despite how some people say, oh, High Tension doesn't make sense. I think it makes sense. I just don't like it. And that's where I am with The Lodge. When I was on the Horrorcast, I rated it like an 8 or an 8.5. Gosh, this second watch, gentlemen, I was just like, you know what? This isn't my story. It makes sense. Everything I'm hearing Dave say actually he's spot on. I just don't like it. That's where I am with it.
That's
fair.
It.
And before you came on board, we were talking about how the filmmaking was great. Well, I did anyway. I said the filmmaking was great. The acting was great. And I think Brandon and I both have aligned that like something about Act 1 works.
I agree with all of that. I just don't like the level of psychosis that these kids go to drive this woman crazy. You got to remember, they're I mean, it starts off as sort of like, you look at it, it seems like it's almost like, oh, innocent pranks. We'll hide the stuff, we'll drive her crazy. Even the hanging prank doesn't seem that bad. They're fucking drugging her with sleeping pills. They're playing their father's recordings of him saying repent. The snow angel scene. This kid is outside making 10,000 snow angels in the snow.
Awesome.
This is fucking psychotic. This is next level psychosis.
They get theirs, don't they? I mean,
that's the best part.
That's why, the ending is the best part besides the first act. I like the first 30 minutes and the last 2 minutes.
That's why it's not a 9 or above. It actually comes down because they tried to. I feel like they tried to pull a fast one. Like you made 2 references to other movies, which I happen to like. Actually, Goodnight Mommy, I caught that early. Which is, and then High Tension I've never had an issue with, and I do like that film. But this one, for whatever reason, I was like mad at the film, and so that doesn't happen often. Yeah. And so that's the problem. That's where it drops down. Is exactly what Brandon's saying. Are you kidding me? Like, I mean, I was hung up on the hanging, no pun intended. But the snow angels is a perfect other example. You fucking nuts.
Oh, that's great.
I think it's so over the top. It's beyond.
Why not do it?
It's beyond.
You want it to be over the top to convince somebody they're in fucking purgatory? You think about the lengths you'd have to go to. I would have fun fucking doing it.
They needed a Saw-esque reveal of all the flashing of them doing it in like psychosis almost to really sell that ending with that sweeping music pulling up like Saw. And then I would have been like, holy fuck, maybe. But
Or
because
reveal that the kids are doing some of it, and that Grace is actually doing some of the other stuff. Maybe Grace was out. Maybe Grace cracked, and she's out there doing the snow angels. She cracked.
Imagine how creepy that would have been.
Yeah, she cracked because the kids drove her nuts with this whole purgatory stuff, which is evil, not because she missed 2 days of her medication.
Okay.
I would have cracked being stuck with those kids too. They're not your kids. You're in a fucking cabin stuck with them. I would have gone insane. Those two fucks.
How about the theory of the unreliable narrator who is Grace? Everything we're seeing is through her eyes. Maybe it isn't fucking 500 snow angels. Maybe it's 3. Maybe she saw that video of them making snow angels and she incorporated that in her own psychosis when she looked out and saw that fucking white snow.
See, Dave, actually, I love that you said that, because that makes perfect sense. And you are onto something there, that this movie, Goodnight Mommy, High Tension, or Haute Tension, they all make sense in the scheme of their narrative, despite when some people are like, oh, they don't make sense. I'm right there with you that we are dealing with a narrative here that is relying on that, the unreliable narrator. And that is kind of my whole problem with this movie, despite its masterfully crafted just execution, is, are we doing this? You can go read The Castle of Otranto, all these books from the 1800s, the early 1900s, and be like, unreliable narrator, jerk off in your face. And I'm kind of like, well, it's 2020. That's it. Okay, cool. I mean, good movie. Go, rah, rah, good job. That's it. And I guess that's kind of my sort of issue, because I think you all know I get like a little bit, bitchy about my unreliable narrator reliance. And that's really my big complaint about the movie, is I think it makes sense. And in the scheme of an unreliable narrator movie, it knocks it out of the park. But where I was coming from when I was messaging B was, but I don't like that as the reveal. That's all. That's my only problem. I think, Dave, you nailed it. It could be 3 snow angels. It could be these things. I'm with B that, you don't get all psycho if you miss a couple days of medication, but I remember that from Abnormal Psych, and it takes a little longer when these pills have a cumulative effect and have to build up in your system. It's not just gonna, you got to go a lot longer. But Dave, you make perfect sense there. I'm with you on that. As far as unreliable narratives go, they did knock it out of the park. I think that's just my disconnect with it, is I'm just kind of like, oh, we're doing this. That's all it is. I'm just like, man, movie killed it though. I mean, that's, I'm trying to be respectful with that. So does that make sense?
To me, it does. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I can't hate. I can't sit there and go, this is bad, because it's not. I'm just like, Watson here is just like tired of that story is all. That's it.
Yeah, and I think Brandon and I have both said the same thing. I can't hate the movie either, because I do love that setup. Yeah. And we talked about the opening suicide and how shocking it was. Oh. And can
you believe that?
That was amazing. It was amazingly done. And then the ending was like, it was great too. It's just, I just feel like I feel like they failed in delivering that twist, and they were trying to sell the movie going one way. And usually I would give praise to a movie like that, but I feel like they didn't do it properly here. As masterful as the setup and masterful the filmmaking, something faltered there with, but I'm thinking it faltered. Dave obviously doesn't think it faltered, but something did not work for me in that.
They should have pulled the plug earlier in their coming clean to her. There's a point where Grace hits Mia and she has a gun in her hand when she hits her, and they still carry on for another 20 minutes of driving her mad. It's just,
well, they want that. That's what they want. That's further proof. Yeah. That if the father shows up, oh, look what this crazy bitch did. She gave her a bloody nose, and that's why, what's his name?
She's holding a gun, though, in that scene. The point is, at this point, the kids should be like, fuck, she's got a gun.
Girl's just trying to get her to stop when she does that. She's trying to get him to come down from her brother. She's just like tugging on her shirt, saying, come here, or whatever she was saying to her. You know what I mean? So the reason I think that they're pushing her to that extreme, one of the outcomes of that is, because remember later on when Aiden keeps saying the same thing over and over again, and she's getting mad, and finally she gets up and she grabs him and she's shaking him and stuff. He is intentionally doing that to piss her off to the extreme. She keeps saying, stop saying that, shut up. the way I see it. Again, see, maybe I just had that type of fucking manipulative mind. I'm thinking I'm going to drive this person crazy to the point that they're going to put their hands on me, and then when Daddy comes home, I'm going to say, "Hey, this bitch fucking broke my arm. She gave her a bloody nose. Oh, well, I got to break up with her now. Okay, she's out of our life."
This is next level stuff. This is.
I think. What can I tell you? And I'm just a regular guy. Why can't? And when I was that age,
that's not regular thinking. That's not.
I understand.
Dave, you're a psycho.
Dude, that is kind of psycho-ish.
Everybody, I can't help my mind works that way, and Francesca's the same way. But the thing is, and again, there you go. She's 14. She's always been this way. She has that type of mind where you try to predict outcomes, and if I do this, the result's going to be this, and it's going to help me this way. I can't help that I think that way. You know what I mean? When I was this kid's age, it's no different. So I'm seeing this from that level. This is what our outcome is. I'm going to do whatever I can to get that outcome. And if this is what it takes, I'm going to hope that what I do, A plus B is going to equal C, or 1 plus 2 is going to equal 3, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Can I ask you gentlemen a question? Were any of you, B and C, were you guys maybe hoping that this narrative went in a supernatural direction, out of curiosity? Because when you get the funeral scene, which after that suicide is so shocking. I love, one thing I do appreciate about this script is how wicked it is at times. It has some nasty moments, and you'll always, get Mr. Watson with a little nastiness. But were you hoping that it went in a supernatural direction? Because there is a scene there during that funeral where they're tying the balloons off, and she has the balloon to the doll, and it doesn't propel upward. It doesn't go. So I was thinking when I watched this movie the very first time, like, okay, we're going to be dealing with not just some lingering psychological things, but maybe a ghost. This is representative of maybe the mom not leaving Earth, maybe not leaving the situation. We're going to find out later that there's something happening here. And then there wasn't. I think that imagery threw me off on my first viewing. Obviously, in the second, I knew it wouldn't. But were you gentlemen hoping, are we dealing with something supernatural here? Is that part of the disappointment?
I don't know if hoping is the right term. I do believe that that's something otherworldly, so that when you think that having the indoor gas heater on killed them, that or that's where they went with the narrative, that it became like the others and now they're left in purgatory there. And then I didn't know where the movie was going to move from there, but I was shocked. I think at more of the reveal that was all a hoax, and no, they're not. They're totally alive. And it was just a big old joke to drive her insane. So I think I don't know if hope is the right word, but I just like, okay, this is where we're going now. And then I was thinking this movie's kind of cool. It's keeping me on my toes. And then I just felt like gut punched not in a good way, like sucker punched as in like, oh, really?
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And then I said that twice,
except no.
Yeah.
Fun.
And then I do like how the movie ended, because I'm like, fuck you kids. So now you get your comeuppance, like Dave said, but not for the reason that they get I was more pissed off at the movie. So I was just happy that they were getting fucking, that she was going insane and shot the dad in the head. And I was like, oh, finally something to grasp onto here, but not for the right reasons. I don't think, not for the reasons that the filmmakers wanted, and not for the aha moment that they wanted. It was more anger on my part. I'm actually coming down to my review now, because I was so happy with how they filmed it and how they were developing atmosphere and everything. And then I was angry, and I'm like, okay, but I'll forgive it. Now that we're having this discussion, I'm like, where do I come in from the rating? Because I actually respect the movie on one part, but then absolutely detest the decision they made.
Look, at the end of the day, technical merit wise, we talked about it. Nobody's going to disagree and say, oh, this is an unwell made film or, terrible acting. Nobody's going to say that. But at the end of the day, there's got to be an entertainment factor to it, and it's just not there. And the reveal is just sort of, it meanders to get there, and it's just like, that's not what I wanted. I don't like it, and just end this already. So at the end of the day, it comes down to a simple enjoyment factor that was lacking for me.
It's funny because I think I like it more now. And now that I'm thinking about the unreliable narrator aspect of it, now I want to go back and watch it and say, hey, it's almost like when I thought that about, with her being off the pills and her maybe creating some things that aren't happening because we're seeing her having these crazy dreams and everything else. Maybe that's going to add to it even more. And that could, I don't know. I think I enjoy it more now because of some of the things we've said here. I don't have a problem. I understand. I know this movie has been pretty divisive, so this doesn't come as a surprise. And the first time I saw it, I was a little bit underwhelmed. And then when I found something out, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Then the second time was better, the third time. And now, I don't know. Now I just like it. And there's everything that goes on. I feel so bad for the little girl in particular in the beginning, how upset she is, and that scene that Watson was talking about with the doll not rising. I didn't think I get where you're coming from, but I didn't get anything out of that except a crushed little girl who, you know what I mean, and how they're just gonna push it forward, and you so much sympathy for her. And then later on, by the end of the movie, I have nothing but sympathy for
Grace.
For Grace. And
exactly.
That by the end, I feel so bad for everything she's gone through, and she's trying to get things straightened out and this and that. But then they put something in there, and I'm like, well, maybe there was cheating going on here because she says we're being judged for what we did. She's telling Richard. Of course, maybe because they weren't divorced yet or something. So maybe it wasn't cheating. Nobody knows. They don't get into that, and I don't necessarily need to be spoon-fed every detail.
Was she his patient? Sorry, or is he? He's not a doctor, was he? He's like an architect.
He's a writer.
Or writer. So what? How did they meet? They say a line.
She was the subject. They were the subject of his book, The Cult. Yeah, one of his books. Yeah. The only reason, see, the doll thing. I thought the doll thing was symbolic of like the very next line where she's like, she can't get into heaven, because of the suicide. Yes. But that's also symbolic of her not being able to get into heaven, not rising. But I don't wish this went supernatural. I just wish it went somewhere else.
I like all the religious stuff throughout the whole movie. She comes from this religion, and the children are very Catholic. They got crucifixes everywhere. They do the sign of the cross and do the prayer. There is so much religious, stuff happening in this movie. It permeates throughout the whole film, the imagery and everything else. But I don't know, it's done in a way that I'm not used to seeing. You're not seeing priests come in here, reciting, verses from the Bible. And it's not, we've seen a lot of movies with religion in it and Catholicism and everything else and cults. We just get enough of it here that it's almost like a comparison. This is how cults are, and this is how these Catholics are. And, I don't know.
For a writer, he's an idiot because you never go with a cult girl. Ever. I mean, that's just common fucking knowledge.
Oh, that writer. You meant the guy that wrote the movie.
You might screw them once while you're writing the book. And then you go, no, just like your cult, I'm kicking you to the curb.
Also babysit my kids.
Yeah. Like, fuck, the guy is an idiot.
He's a shitball.
No, again, the movie's coming even further down.
Why?
Also babysit my kids. It's exactly it. Like, fuck.
That's what I'm saying. Now, to me, because he's such a shitball, that should make the movie go up because it makes the children's intentions that much more important. It's like, okay, obviously our father doesn't give a shit about us. You know what I mean? He did this and this and this.
Then why care when they get shot in the head? Should have been like, then they should have taken a bow. That would have been mission accomplished.
Fuck you, Dad.
Yeah. Thanks, Grace.
As much as I hate him, and I'm complaining about the fact that he goes away and leaves him there with her. You mentioned earlier that, maybe this is an opportunity for them to bond in isolation. He has no idea what the kids are planning, so maybe I can forgive him. Maybe he's like, all right, it's been 7 months. I do love this girl. I want to marry her. I'm regretful of what happened to your mother. Maybe I did cheat, but she still had to pull the trigger. Not to be a fucking dick, but he's trying, and so I'm kind of torn as to whether he's like a total asshole or not.
I think he is an asshole. I think he's an asshole right from the jump, because when he makes the woman, instead the girl's not supposed to be at the house when she's there, and he bullshits her.
He lies. He lies, and she sneaks out the back.
Easy. just don't fucking be here that day, or plan it later and leave it. He's literally taking 2 glasses of wine and putting them into the fucking dishwasher. He's really trying to fucking hide, really. And then he all he cares about is his woman. He puts a dog bed in the fucking house, yet neglects to fucking hide the mother's winter hat and the mother's shit that's still in the house, which is, of course, it's going to upset the kids. And you know you're going to let this woman put on their fucking dead mother's winter hat. So you were smart enough to give her a dog bed, but you weren't smart enough to give this girl winter clothes for when you're gonna go outside and fucking play on the ice. Or take my ex-wife's clothes, or I'm not gonna think about those really important details.
Should
that I
she
am
have
gonna
been
think
smart
about
enough?
a dog bed.
She's a fucking
Girls
adult.
love that girls love that when you give them your ex's stuff. They believe me. Every one of your female listeners are like, yes, I love it when my man gives me his ex's stuff.
Oh, I gotta put a little onus on her too. You were a kid. Let the fucking cult go. Grow up. Let it go.
It's tough.
Well, she videoed it. She videoed all the dead bodies. She videoed all the dead bodies covered with the cloth.
Let it go, bitch.
That's what I'm saying. She's fucked up. She never fully recovered. She never fully recovered. She's going to have a breakdown at some point, regardless of whether these kids do this or not.
Well, the father's hopeful.
Cracking.
I'm with what Dave is saying in that the father is hopeful. I mean, like, you know, whereas when I'm dating somebody, they don't get to meet my son. That's kind of my thing. Is like, I don't, you know, no, that's not on the menu here. This guy's like, all right, we got to integrate the family unit here. And, you know, okay, my kids, Grace, come on. Yeah, the cult. I don't know. I believe in you. And I do get that. That's why when the sort of inopportune situation arises, hey, I got to go into work, he's hopeful. And I do get that, like, it's like, yeah, it's an asshole move. It's maybe inattentive, but it's believable. So I'm with that.
What does he have to go to work for? He's a writer.
Well,
right.
Oh, wait.
Pull up a chair and write.
Interesting. I actually did not think of that.
Like, I mean, maybe get some internet. Well, I don't care how remote you are. Get something over there. Get some satellite internet.
And he went all the way back home to the dollhouse?
For 6-hour drive, 5-hour drive. Come on.
Interesting.
All we know is that he wrote a book. That's all we know. We don't. He might do something else full time. He might work for a newspaper for all we know. We don't know any of that.
Okay.
All we know is he's
or a digital media platform.
Yeah. Pop horror. He's a fucking star. Yeah.
Pop.
Yeah, it's like working for fucking Fangoria. I know all about it. Anyway, we should probably wrap this thing up because we only have 45 minutes, and I know we want to dig into It Follows. I could talk another 15 minutes here easily. I wish we had the time, but we just don't. So it is what it is.
I'm just upset the gun didn't have 4 bullets in it at the end, and it only had 3 because I would have liked one for myself.
You just pass that through the TV.
Like, are we giving number ratings or just head ratings because it's a 2020? I know people hate.
I'm fucking staying out of this one.
I'm just asking. I'll give my number rating because you could already tell it's not making my top 20 of the year.
No. Let's do head ratings.
Okay, it's a mild rumble, and it gets that for its technical merits.
Okay, you know what? This actually helps me because regardless of which rating I went for, it was still going to be the same. So it doesn't matter. I will say one quick thing. I love some of the shots in the edit towards the end. I love the free yourself from the false idol thing that she's talking about. It ties in with the Dow. It's cool. Everything else, the plan with the gas heater, all that stuff worked. And the couple scary dreams. And I jumped twice because of the freaking music and because of a couple scenes involving that scary ass organ in the dreams. And then, anyway, it's a full head explosion.
Mild rumble. I'm with B. It was a half head for sure. But I'm getting narratively speaking, I'm not happy.
I won't say nothing. I guess I made it worse for you with all my fucking.
No.
Apparently I did.
Yeah.
I'd like to blow half my head off.
Is that a rated? Watson, do you like hockey?
Do I like cock?
Hockey.
Oh, what?
Well,
I heard.
It's pretty much goes
like, sure,
hand in hand.
Let's improve our relationship. I admit I've been sleeping on your side of the bed a little bit. You've been a bit of a blanket hog. Let's improve our relationship. No, no, hockey's cool. I've been to a few hockey games in my life. Yeah,
perfect. What's your head reading?
I'm going mild rumble as well. And everything Dave is saying, Dave hasn't said one thing that I'm like, that I disagree with. It's just, it's the nature of the story itself that I just, to be reductive, I'm just like, well, this story's not for me, but I can see why it's masterful. So that's just kind of where I am with that. I have to be objective in my statement that, like, yeah, if people are like, one of my favorite podcasters ever, Jay of the Dead, rates us a 10 out of 10, and I can watch this movie and go, yeah, I see where you're coming from. And so, but for me, it's like, it's not my type of story, but it is good. So yeah, I'm going with that mild rumble. It is good though.
Yeah,
I
Jay
can't sit
Murph.
here and hate. Jay Murph. Yep. Yeah.
What do you say about Jay Smurf?
I said, yeah, Jay Murph. He said Jay of the Dead. I said, yeah, Jay Murph.
Nice. Okay, we got to get into this next one.
All right, the main event. Let's see who hates this. Let's see if Christian's 3 for 3.
Oh, Mr. Mild Rumble. We may as well call him the jaded one for 2020. Mr. Mild Rumble.
All right, it follows in 2014. David Robert Mitchell, writer, director. A young woman is swallowed by an unknown supernatural force after a sexual encounter.
And this comes from SC. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, SC.
Okay, let's get into this one. A classic, an absolute. To me, this movie is kind of like a Nightmare on Elm Street for the last decade. And why I say that is because of the ideas behind it and the execution and the originality of it. That's what it feels like to me. I'm not saying it's as good as a Nightmare on Elm Street. That's just the comparison I have, and I think that both are American classics now.
It's so funny. I was talking to someone recently, a friend, and she brought up A Nightmare on Elm Street, and yet the thing I criticized about this film is something I forgive in that film. And she's like, you're not being objective. I'm like, you don't have to be objective. Each film is its own thing. I'm being subjective. And that's the fact that these kids, they don't see it, but they see what it does to Jay. And I feel like that just takes away a layer of fear that was there up until that point. Until
you think they should all be able to see it?
I think none of them should be able to see even when it gets close to her and attacks her.
So when her hair's being pulled, you don't want them to see it.
I don't want them to see her hair go up in the air. I don't
all
want
the good stuff.
How do they know something's happening? Then they think she's the fucking Looney Tunes.
That's the point. Blind faith.
Oh, you and that
blind faith. I'm a
mental
big
illness.
fan of that
He
with this
wants
type of
mental
film.
illness.
Why do they get to see it?
Why? It makes sense for once. Usually you don't see it. This time you actually do see it.
No.
Fucking because you should see it. If something attacks you, if a ghost pulls your hair, I should be able to see it. Why should I not be able to? It makes no sense that for movies for years, it's like that discussion we had the other day about vampires wearing clothes. They look in the mirror and you don't see the clothes. You should see the fucking clothes. It's been done wrong for too long. Now, all these years, you see things happening and somebody being attacked and people don't see it. Now they're actually doing the right thing. And if somebody's going to pull my hair, guess what? Why should that be imaginary to me? Or I don't know. I think it's better because you do see it. But that's me.
The film did set the precedent that the creature, the entity, does interact with the physical world, and they hold to it. So I'm fine with them seeing it myself. Yeah, I'm down with that.
That's the thing, but I feel like it represents sort of like this loss of innocence and this coming face to face with mortality. That's what I see this film is about. Not about STDs, not about violence against women. About coming to
STDs.
About coming to terms with your own mortality. I mean, that's why the first image that Jay sees of an it is an old woman, because all women grow up eventually and become old women and die, and dealing with our own mortality and stuff like that. And so her sexual encounter like awakens her to being an adult and to coming face to face with her own mortality. So when the others see it, even though I'm not saying the others haven't been sexually active, I just feel like there's like Greg's character doesn't believe her. He doesn't really see it. He's there at the beach, but he doesn't really see it. But he doesn't believe her, whereas the others see it and immediately it's almost like a team effort. Like, us versus it. It just took me out of like that really horrifying feeling of dread of being isolated and alone and not being able to communicate with others your fears. And the minute they see it, they're like sort of on board. And I do like the pool scene, but again, I just wish they didn't see it. I just wish it was presented in a way where they believe her because they're her friends and they love her, but it just doesn't play out. I don't want to say it looks wonky because it doesn't. It's still very cool and very sort of messy, which makes sense given that they're, I mean, they're not kids, but they're young adults, so they wouldn't be, as creative as Aiden was in the lodge. Sorry.
I just love it as an ongoing, as an entity that can't be stopped, that will constantly come after you. So you could pass it on, but you're always going to live with that fear, because if they get killed, it's coming right for you, and it will go right down that line. And that's the most terrifying thing. Well, didn't this come up in a conversation, D? You said you take the money. Someone was asking, would you take $1 million if you knew that a super slug or something would come after you, or whatever? And I said no, because I'd always be worried. I'd always have that fear that it's coming after me, and I can't live with that. I would go insane. So
you can't sleep.
That's it. And like I was even like, don't get me wrong, because this movie keeps going up for me every watch. I liked it the first time I watched it. This is like the fourth time now, and I love it now. I just love it. I love the acting, the pacing, everything about it. But it's that fear, that constant fear of something evil coming after you, pursuing you, and that you could try. Like there are friends that have sleep with her to try to push it off onto someone else, but it backfires and it keeps coming back.
you can never get too far ahead of it, and it's the most terrifying concept, I think, for a film in the last, at least in the last 2 decades, probably.
Which I understand where the STD idea came from, but that couldn't have been what the filmmaker's intention was, because other than passing it along through sex, the underlying themes don't line up with an STD.
Christian, I know we'll probably get to this later, but thank you for saying that, because I do believe that reading of the film, it does this film damage by going, oh, this is an STD demon and it's about abstinence and it's anti-sex, very conservative, and it's blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I've never had that reading of the film. And in fact, I have something of an alternative take on this film that I've never heard anybody say outright before. And I'm actually, I'm overjoyed, guys, that you don't fall into that, that camp of going, well, this is just a metaphor for, sexually transmitted, blah, blah, blah. It's like, because it isn't. And I really like that you've, put together those pieces where you're like, that it seems like that at first, but when you really look at it, it's not that. And let's talk about the technical aspects, guys. I mean, in lesser hands, this script almost certainly would have played out in like an uninspired and generic fashion. So I got to give props to David Robert Mitchell for bringing this story to life with such a technically proficient eye. I mean, as filmmaking goes, see, you can attest to this. I mean, It's nearly perfect in that arena, like everything from shot composition, color correction, lighting, the score by Disaster Piece, the performances, everything here that is technical. Maybe you don't like the story, but everything technical is handled with skill. And this is the reason why I was so glad I was able to get my technical difficulties in order today so I could jump on, because I have never been able to talk about this movie. And yeah, I'm very glad to. What do you think about the technical aspects, gentlemen, the elements there?
Oh, well,
top
he
notch.
loves top notch is right. I love his use of 360. He loves taking the camera and doing 360 pans, but by actually having a reason to do it and telling the story that way, from that opening is it the opening shot, right?
It is.
She runs out and then it follows her down the road. Why is she wearing high heels? That drives me nuts.
David Robert Mitchell he's like Quentin Tarantino. I think this guy is into the footwear. I think he's into it. That's okay. I'm not gonna kink shame the gentleman, but there are some times where I'm like, oh, why is she wearing those fuck me pumps? Why is Jay not wearing shoes? What's going on here? It's okay. I'm in it too, but let's not put this on the forefront, guy. No.
Oh, no. That's what's great about it.
I'm playing.
Two things. The opening scene, to me, the first 5 minutes of this film with the music and everything, and when it leads to her being at the beach with the running around and coming back in the house.
That reveal?
And then dude, that is it may be the best opening scene in a horror movie of the entire last decade. I've always loved it. I think it's excellent. The first time I saw it in the theater, I knew I was onto something special just by the way the movie began. As far as the high heels, that just furthermore proves the fact that she was in a rush. It was the only thing that she saw sitting there, threw them on, get me the fuck out the door instead of going barefoot. What are these by the door? Boom, slip them on and go. To me, it shows desperation. I just want to have something on my feet and I'm running outside. And
you know what it is too, gentlemen, is because some people are like, why is she running around in the circle like that and doing that? You know what it is? I think she's trying to get the creature to walk toward her so she can get to her car. I really think that's what's happening there.
Yeah,
that's
I think
kind of clever.
It's that, and I think it's just like being freaked out, like in that moment. And you're right. It's like she runs out. I love how that woman addresses. Are you all right? Do you need help?
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's great. And again, it gives a reason for the camera. It comes over there, follows that, then she runs back. And I think you're right. It has the creature circling around. And Brandon and I think, Watson, you already alluded to, like, some of the creatures of the visions that you see was one of my quibbles the first time, not when Brandon argued the mortality and the old lady, great, but I'm just talking about like, the fact that it could be anything. I kind of thought was a little mismatch at first. Now I love it. I've grown to love it, but at first that was a quibble of mine. I'm like, well, why?
I'm not. I have no issue with that. I love that, and I do agree with Dave on the opening shot being one of my favorite opening scenes, and the 360. You're right. I mean, it's almost like you have to be aware of everything going on in your surroundings, and I love that opening sequence because you don't really see a creature. You're looking everywhere. It's like when Jay's on the swing set later on. You're looking everywhere, and there's nothing there. And that's what I'm talking about with like supernatural or ghost stories or anything like that, hauntings. The less you see, the scarier it is, which is why, going back to Oculus, it's almost like less is more, Flanagan.
Well, Matt B., I love what you're saying because as story goes, it really is the subtleties all throughout this entire thing that elevate this film above its really just elementary premise. I mean, these characters, are richly fleshed out, and the script does a remarkable thing in that it actually spends time with them in establishing their world and the things in it to the extent that as you watch, you're getting a very real sense of the world these kids inhabit. And, keeping to the subtle elements of the film, though, when you look at all the times blurry figures walking in the background are used against us as viewers, right? When you look at the photos in Jay's house, who's in them and then who shows up later, when you examine who the ghost appears as at different points in the story. Yeah. Sometimes it's the little voyeur kids. Sometimes it's somebody in the scene. Sometimes it's, somebody random. When you consider the imperceptible nature of this film's time period and maybe even the season, all these things show a picture taking shape that ultimately, illustrates just how much care went into crafting this film. And when I know filmmakers are serious about their movie, it's just that much better to me.
And you catch these things like almost like Easter eggs on repeat viewings.
Yeah.
And that does, I think, like you get it there. It's there. So we subliminally may absorb some of that imagery and those nuances that you described upon first watch, or some keen viewers will, but not everybody does. So it becomes great when you see that, go, oh shit, you see who's in the picture there, and then or whatever it may be, and it works. The last shot works because it again reinforces you will never be free of this. You'll never be, whether that was the intention at all, that person walking directly behind, which they're not going to put anything into the frame that they don't want in the frame. That ominous person that's just behind them walking towards them, we don't know. Could just be someone walking down the street. It could be the monster.
And the setting,
that's great.
The setting that they have it in, it's just so vaguely ambiguous. It almost feels like an alternate world that we're in. Like
and timeless, right? An amalgamation of 70s, 80s, 90s, and
yeah. I mean, because look, there's tube TVs in this. There's an organ player in the theater.
Oh, by the way, that theater, you know what that is? 100%. That is just like the Riviera Theater, the one that I told you I went to and I saw Witchboard and everything else. When I watched
cigarettes rolled up in your sleeves.
Yeah, that's it. Cigarettes in my sleeves, the whole nine. And if you sit there and you watch them sitting, you could see that there's a balcony there. They're not in the balcony, but I'm telling you, that is just like the Riviera Theater. And in that theater, to this day, they still do have the organ player. It's the Mighty Wurlitzer, which is the street I grew up on. But anyway, I didn't mean to. It just popped in my head when you said that. I'm sorry.
And then Yar is reading Dostoevsky on that compact.
Yes, The Idiot by Dostoevsky. Yes, on that little imaginary, not real little Wi-Fi seashell.
Clamshell. Yeah.
It looks like a little makeup compact, like a mirror.
Yeah. Awesome. But Dave, I gotta throw this in really quickly, and the reason I wanted to chat about this movie with you guys is because I think I have an alternative take on this movie that I've never heard anyone say. But also, what's kind of cool is I was actually able to catch this while it was in its festival circuit before the hype, and I was actually kind of underwhelmed at first, but I grow to love this movie each watch. But I was able to see it in a sort of theater where they were when they were seeing that movie, and hey, what the girl in the yellow dress, right? And I have heard some criticism, and maybe there are listeners who are like, well, if he knew this creature was following him, why would he go to a theater where there's only like two exits in this room? It's like, look, sometimes if you're dating a girl like Jay, sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. You know what I'm saying?
Word. Yes.
And he gets freaked out and they leave. So he plans on risking it, but then he gets spooked and they get the hell out of Dodge.
You gotta woo her, man.
Now,
but also the talk. I was sorry.
Brandon.
The talk back and forth between the innocence of being a child and sort of growing up and becoming an adult. The conversation about when they were younger and they had all the nudie magazines, and then later on when they're searching for Jeff, they're in the house and there's all these playpens, and it just takes on a much sleazier feel. A lot of mirroring back and forth.
Right.
B, when they're in the theater talking about that little Trading Places game, and he looks at the little kid going like, hey, I'd like to be him because this guy wants to start over.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Get back to that place of innocence. Good observation, buddy. Very astute.
And
you are a good podcaster. I take back everything I've told Dave. You're good. See, I don't know. No, I love you, buddy.
But
I didn't want you on today, so.
Nice. I agree with that dude though, man. When he's standing in line, I would have said the exact same thing. Who do you want to? I would have said the kid, the baby, whatever. Who doesn't want to go back? I sure as hell want to be that young again. That's the best age to be.
Carefree, not a care in the world other than waking up and watching cartoons, being fed.
Yeah,
that's it. Shitting and maybe getting a little bit on the seat. No one's gonna care.
It's the greatest.
One of the things, again, watching it this time. Again, I'm not saying it's a quibble, but it's a reality of it. So we're talking about like the distance factor. So they at one point go to like a summer home or what seemingly is a cottage or another place. I think they're driving for, I would assume, 2 hours or so. They don't really give a time frame, but that person, comes and gets them like the next day. And I thought that was a little weird because it's always on foot walking.
Day.
There's some inconsistencies with that. Look, Greg has sex with her shortly after that when she crashes the car and it's in the hospital, and he doesn't see it for 3 days.
So there we go. So again, there's inconsistencies with when it will show up.
That makes it more terrifying. You know it's coming, but you don't know where it's coming from.
Or when. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys, how do you feel about the ambiguous nature of the creature and its mythology? Like, the director has stated that the rules we get in the film are strictly from Hugh's point of view. That's listeners, that's the guy who Jay initially has sex with at the beginning. That the rules are strictly from his point of view and that they might not necessarily be entirely accurate or fully realized. So if that's the case, if we're led to believe that there is more to this creature than the film outwardly implies, then do you guys believe this vague approach to what this entity is? Do you think that's smart or lazy? I mean, if there really are no clear rules, okay, I think I'm with you guys. I'm still actually trying to figure that out, because if there are no clear rules about its behavior other than the fact that, okay, we know it's passed on via sexual intercourse and that it can shapeshift, I mean, I suppose you can't argue against anything the creature does or doesn't do, right? And isn't that kind of it could be perceived as an easy way out of explaining things, but it also is covering your bases. For example, the director has said this creature is not above boarding a plane to follow a victim if they decide to fly off, and that's smart. So, but why don't we ever get a sense of its ingenuity in the film itself? Like, I know it was a deliberate decision to keep the creature nebulous and unknowable, right? But how much better would it have been if we got a clear sense of it? Like, maybe we see the creature throw our characters for a loop, do something unexpected.
Come out of a cab.
Listen, I can't
not be the only one in the cab.
and won't argue that this film breaks any rules, because some people say, no, this film breaks its rules. I don't think it does, because we're never given a reliable illustration of the rules. But I don't know. Did you guys need more? Were you fine with the less is more approach? What do you think?
Less is more. The more you give, the more open to criticism it becomes, because then people don't like it defining its terms and its rules, and then it becomes less scary. It just becomes a generic, sort of creature feature almost, or demon feature, or whatever it might be. I like the idea that we don't know what it is.
I agree.
Look, I know I'm all over the place sometimes. I know this is another one of those, well, you need to have answers and have things drawn out for you. You don't like these open-ended stuff. It's film to film with me. I'm sorry. It's always going to be that way. I can't explain why. For this film, it works. If it was another film, I might not like it.
And that would be something that they would do in the sequel, because that they would need to do a little bit more, establish something more, give a little bit more to the lore or the mythology. So that would be something to follow up on. I'm not going to say I would dislike a scene, although I was making a joke, and Dave, you laughed, but when Watson, you were talking, I said, what if they showed at this thing, like at the summer home thing, that there was a car that drove up, someone got out, and we just see this mysterious person in the back, and then look, we don't have to see them walking at that point, but it alludes to it. It wouldn't have taken anything away from me, but it could have explained the fact that now timing is not, it's not relevant.
Two people would have to get out. A real person.
Well, yeah, of course, right? It's not Ghost Dad.
Hey,
it's Ghost Dad in itself.
Ghost Dad. I saw that in the theaters when I was a little kid.
Oh my
I think
God.
that every time you guys talk about Ghost
So
Dad, I'm like, I was 4 years old and saw that in 1988 or 89 or whatever it was.
Wow. Well, I agree. Less is more. And B, you beat me to the punch, because I was going to say that to you. I was going to say, I can't be the guy that always wants extra detail about the motivations of characters and why and this and that. And it's always his beef. Now he's saying less is more. I pretty much always say less is more.
That's why I'm saying even less touching, even less showing of the touching.
No, I'm digging it.
Maybe like the scene at the pool at the end. Maybe when Jay's being held under by the entity. Maybe they look under and she's just literally like sitting there.
Interesting.
Sitting there.
I mean, my whole sex life is less is
underwater,
more.
Not struggling, just like sort of like under there by herself. It's not going to create doubt, because we're, as the viewer, we're seeing it and we know it's real. But.
That's one of my favorite shots of the film, actually.
No, I enjoy the scene. I feel like those scenes where they throw the sheet on and it looks like a ghost and fucking
makes sense.
and it does make sense. But then he shoots Yara in the leg. It feels it's good, but it feels a little silly and a little out of the horror of it all. It takes me out.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Dave. I interrupted you, buddy.
No. I just want to say, to me,
What else is new?
To me, that all makes sense. It all makes sense that less is more, and that things are not just, there are no rules. This, again, I'm going to make the comparison. This is very much like a Nightmare on Elm Street. Same thing. In a Nightmare on Elm Street, you see things happening, and we see these. Another thing I like about this movie, and I may be wrong, but we don't see a lot of teens in peril as a group in suburbia anymore movies. We don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys are going to point about 100 movies out at me that I'm not, off the top of my head, not thinking. But that's, again, it's back to that comparison. But we have these teenagers trying to figure shit out and doing the best they can. And that's why there are
likable teenagers, which is very important. A good group of core friends, and even like the players, even the guy at the beginning, you like. Even though what he's doing to him, the way that he kind of explains it, like, I'm sorry. Like, they make him as likable as they can for what he's done. Like, you don't get that. So that's the extra care.
I immediately dismissed the idea that this is, a sexual assault type film.
Thank you.
Being haunted by that, because that was not. It's not. That was never his intention, because he's a victim too.
And when she's giving the whole thing to the police, they ask her, was it consensual?
Exactly.
And some people have been like, oh, that she's covering for him because women's voices aren't heard. I'm like, yeah, man, that might be a societal problem, but not in this movie. She's being honest. Yeah, I was down with what was going on. And I want to talk about that theme later because that's the whole sort of maybe it's my take on this film isn't as alternative as I was thinking it was. So I'm so glad we're kind of lining up there. But I want to go back because this is bothering me, guys. Christian, like, is he a good editor or what are we doing with it? No. How do you guys feel about the pool scene and the plan they hatch? Okay, because I watched this with my son. After the pool scene was over, he goes, Dad, what was happening there? My fourth time seeing this movie, and okay, I like this movie quite a bit, but I hate this pool scene. I high-key hate it. The director has said, look, he's going, it's supposed to be a stupid plan concocted by a bunch of dumb kids, so the plan's failure was on purpose. I meant to do that, this director's saying, but the more I sit here thinking about the logic behind this pool scene, there's a reason, okay, guys, that the viewers weren't let in on Paul's brainstorming session here, and that's because literally no conversation in the world could or would happen between these kids that would lead to them doing this. Think about this. This creature's given them absolutely no definitive sense of the speed, like you guys were saying earlier, at the speed at which it comes for its victims, which is really cool. Sometimes it gets there pretty quickly. At other times, it literally takes days for it to show up. We don't know what the creature does when it's not present, so it could be up to literally anything while they're having their little swimming pool party.
Golfing.
So for example, it could be grabbing ladders so it can climb on top of houses to suntan with the old cock out. And I'm not even joking. Like this creature,
what a bush.
well, right? This creature has to interact. He needs to get laser hair treatment like you, B. But this creature interacts with the physical world like any human being. So when you see it standing on the roof in that one scene, it broke into these people's garage, grabbed a ladder out from behind some boxes that the husband told the wife he'd get rid of but never did. This thing carried it to the side of the house, set it up so it's sturdy, hauled its ass up this ladder rung by rung, then stood there to scare Jay so, Christian could have a nice visual, some delicious dick.
At least they didn't show a floating ladder.
I know, a floating ladder. Then it had to climb back down and resume its walking again. Like, and that's silly but the deal is some people said that's rule breaking, but we don't know what this thing does when we don't see it. So back to the pool scene though, okay? We don't hear them talk about this bullshit plan because they would tell Paul to fuck himself. And I like Paul, so I don't want that for him. Seriously, here's how the conversation go. He'd sit there and he'd be like, so everybody, I'm thinking we head over to that indoor pool place with a bunch of electronics, right? Okay, we'll set them up around the pool with Jay inside the pool, right? Then, when it comes for her, gets in the water, everybody, we're pushing those electronics in. We're going to shock this thing to death. Also, I got that gun from earlier. If that doesn't work, who's with me? And Jay would seriously be like, homie, your dumbass forgot that I'm inside that pool. So I'm not trying to get electrocuted. Fuck that. Also, the breakers are going to trip anyway, meaning we're just pushing a bunch of my mom's valuables in the pool for nothing. Also, did you see that episode of Mythbusters? And if this creature's underwater at any point, the bullets aren't going to hit it. So also fuck that. We're literally not doing this. And we have absolutely no clue how long we're going to have to chill at this place before the creature shows up. It could be days. Remember all 10 times I was in the hospital? Yeah, we chilled. It didn't show up. It was chilling too somewhere else. Here's what we're doing instead, Paul. I'm going to chill here at home. We're going to put a bucket of paint on top of the door. Then when the creature opens it up to get to me, the paint's going to fall on it so you can all see it. Then we're going to shoot it in the head, even though that didn't work earlier. So fuck your pool idea. We're not doing that. It's dumb. Don't get me wrong. I like this movie, but this scene is like the thing where I'm just going, nope, and no argument I've ever heard where like, no, it's a fun Scooby-Doo gang type escapade has ever convinced me that this is something that I'm down with. I can believe in a shape-shifting sex demon, but not this. I high-key hate it.
That's why she had sex with him right after. She's like, Paul, you're such a dumb fuck. I'm giving you this curse.
I think that was plan B. Plan B is that now I'll just go to that hooker that I thought, and which was a much more sound plan, but doesn't make for a good climax to the film. This is all about the climax of the film. It is a dumb plan. I can't disagree with anything you said, Mr. Watson, but they needed something big.
I can.
Oh, okay. Well, Dave can. And they needed something big for the climax, and then they go for the best plan, which is sleep with me, and I'm going to go to a prostitute who then is going to sleep with a bunch of people. or sleep with somebody who then will probably go to a different prostitute, and then hopefully will be way down the line before this comes back to get us. What is your argument?
But he doesn't.
Okay. So I think you had 4 points, Watson, on the problem with the pool. I can dispute 3 of them except 1. The only one I will agree on is the time thing. But you got to take a chance. You got to go there, maybe hang out for 5 hours, and if it's bad, you go back home and you go with plan B. That's fine. But as far as the others are concerned, when you were saying, I'm like, I hope he's not going to say she's going to be in the water too. I was going through this thinking, anticipating what you were going to say because I already had retorts. Number 1, the Mythbusters thing, I didn't know. Maybe I'm a complete idiot, but I thought they would work. So I'll
bullets can't go through water.
No.
Like that. No. Of this type of gun.
Not even the bullets. I'm not even talking about the bullet. I'm talking about throwing. Maybe I'm mistaken. I was talking about throwing those electronics in the water. I thought that would be enough to make it work. I don't know about the electricity and the size of the voltage to the bottom to the water and everything else. I don't know. So I thought you were talking about that throwing a couple electronics in a big body of water isn't going to work. If so, I'm mistaken. Because either way, I would have thought that would have worked. Number 1, the thing
Dave came up with a plan.
In the water. So here's what I look at, and the gun is for something else entirely. Okay, she's gonna go in the water. She's gonna wait when she sees the guy come in the building, whenever it is, come walking and has to walk across the tile. She's gonna wait in the middle of the pool strategically. As soon as
that come at her.
Pardon me.
It'll come at her, and then they can see where it's moving in the water.
Hold on. It'll come at her.
Okay,
and she'll get out.
As soon as it puts any part of its body in the pool,
she gets
remember.
Out.
Things move Things move slowly in the water, and that's going to include this thing. It's not going to chase her in any particular way, no matter how fast of a swimmer it is. As long as she can swim at all, which we know she is. She's a swimmer. She has a pool anyway. She could swim out pretty quickly. That by the time that things, because they pursue them in order. It just here is she, and the thing's right behind her. Constantly tailing her. So if the thing gets in the water and she's in the middle of the water, by the time, as soon as it gets in, she could get out the side, swim to the side quick, and get out. That gives time for electrocution. Now, to me, the gun thing is to maybe get it in the water if necessary. I never thought the gun was to shoot while it's in the water. I thought the plan would be electrocution is going to be good enough. As soon as she's going to get out, there's going to be 4 of them together are going to be able to throw all the shit into the water and electrocute it quickly. Now, to me, the gun was, if it gets out, we're going to put a thing over it, shoot it in the head. So we've seen that that gunshots work, and it will make them fall back. Shoot it so that it falls back into the pool, so we have a second chance at it if it didn't work the first time. To me, all that stuff makes sense. Especially
Dave, I'm actually down with that. I don't disagree with anything you've just said there. I just I still hate the scene though. I'm with you that as planning goes, what you said is legit, because you would see it and maybe it would give everybody an opportunity to see it walking through the water. She can get out. I just I'm actually with that. I'm down with that.
Okay, see, it's teens though. You know what I mean? It's these people coming up with something on the fly. Here's what how are you gonna kill it? There's gonna be 2 ways to kill it. The way I look at it. Electrocution is a left field one, but it works. If you throw something in a body of water and electrocute it, you're gonna kill it. There's electrocution and there's fire. You can either burn it to death, put it in a place Michael Myers style, and try to trap it and fucking burn it. But you can't really. I don't know how that works.
How was that worked out for Michael?
Right.
No,
word.
Okay, Dave, everything you said, because I lovingly with wireless, I could hear you when I went away, excuse me, I agree with. That was the plan, but I can't disagree with what Watson said. It's still half-assed in the sense of like,
but they're kids in a rush.
Yeah, okay, I know, but she's in the water.
The plan is electrocution.
Can you do better in a fucking? You're 18 years old in a hurry or younger, and you're trying to figure out what the fuck to do here. You don't think
I would have gone right to plan B if I was 18 and that was the girl. I'd be like, oh, plan B. Fuck the pool. I don't have gas money anyway. Plan B.
See, the pool works. It slows it down. They need something to slow it down. Water is a way to slow anything down.
I would have just wanted to get laid and then figure out from there what to do.
They want to electrocute it because they already shot it. They shot it at the lake house.
Yeah, did nothing.
Shooting it doesn't work. The only reason
did
why
enough, it knocked it on its fucking ass for a second.
That's why Paul starts shooting, because he's trying to stop it and slow it down, and he's trying to get it to like stop grabbing on Jay, but he accidentally shoots the friend. But that was never the intent. I think it's just
And that's the only time. That's really the only time that I kind of connected to it being some sort of virusy type thing or something like that would emulate like the sexual transmitted disease factor is when it becomes in the water. When it becomes
like the blood.
Yeah, like that it
was
was
cool.
like that's the
Like
only time that I would have or
Like a
something.
younger-
It was just relating to something like I guess organic and whatnot. That's the only real
Girl,
time frame I
a
would have
young
thought.
girl
that.
becoming a woman.
You think that was the metaphor that's what was happening there?
Maybe.
You think that's what was happening?
Absolutely, 100%.
Maybe.
You're an
Just
asshole.
like you think Paul slept with a hooker.
You
Okay,
don't think he went
wait,
through it?
Does it work with condoms or not?
Absolutely not.
If you use a
Absolutely.
condom, is it passed on or is it not passed
I
on? That's my-
absolutely think it. I absolutely, Dave, think that it is, and I want to get to that, Dave. Remember you said that because I want to get to that in a minute. But we got to go back to something that Christian and Brandon were talking about the nature of passing this thing on. What do you guys make of the scene with the guys on the boat? Okay, so Jay sees the dudes out there, strips down, starts walking out to the water. The scene then cuts to her driving in
I
her
think
car.
she fucked them.
Her
I think
car
fucked
all
one of
wet,
them.
and for the first time ever, I noticed that she was crying as she left. So,
Yep.
do you guys believe that she had sex with one or all of them, and that's
All.
why she was crying? Or do you think that she was crying because she couldn't go through with it and couldn't buy herself time and was going through an existential thing as this demon is drawing closer every second? What do you guys think of that?
I'd like to think she fucked him.
Okay, see, Dave, I actually knew you would say that. And I'll say this. If she actually went out there and passed the demon on to one or all of them, because I actually do believe it would be all of them because of,
Right.
that's something I'm kind of going to say later, then fuck her. I actively hate her for it. And Dave, I know you're going to be like, you know what? Survival, because you're that dude. You're going to be like, I'm getting this thing as far. But look, let's go. I honestly choose to think she
Fuck
didn't
my
go
old
through
mom
it.
if I got her.
She could tell him too. She
She
could
can't
fuck
pass
that.
it on to all.
No,
of them. She can only pass it on to one, but she didn't
I-
sleep with any of
I
them.
wonder about that, B. I actually wonder about that. I'm going to say something later and get your take on this. But for Jay to make sacrificial lambs out of these innocent dudes just trying to chill with the boys, they're cracking a cold one open with the boys, right? If this were an extreme horror film that was exploring the depths of sexual depravity someone would have to go through in the name of survival, then I'm down. Then I love that she went out there, did a little 1-on-3. But this isn't that story. I know it's a questionable scene, but from a moral and ethical standpoint, Jay would be murdering these guys by proxy, like deliberately infecting someone with AIDS or something like that, if we're keeping with the sexual metaphors here. And if she does this knowingly, I can't root for her anymore. And I can't see any scenario where she cleans herself off after the gangbang and actually convinces all three of them that a demon is coming for them. And furthermore, if she did pass the demon on to them, effectively killing them in the process, then why does she just go chill at home and sleep on the floor? Why isn't she using this extra time to her advantage? You're telling me that she ended these three men's lives and then didn't get ahead of this motherfucker? Like, no, I can't see a moral, a narrative, a thematic or tactical reason why she gave this demon to those boat guys. I like the thought exercise going on there. I like the red herring that I could, but the movie only works for me if she doesn't do it. I can't see, like I said, I can't see a narrative, thematic, or tactical reason why she did it.
And Watson, that's why I've never once in the half a dozen times I've seen this film ever thought she did.
Okay, so
Yeah, me neither.
now you argued it, and I agree, but I don't agree that Brandon doesn't think what's his face slept with the hooker. I think he did.
I don't think he did either. I
think he
He
did.
drove by and considered it, and that's really all they go with.
Just like she considered sleeping with them, but I think they were
Yes.
hanging onto the curse themselves.
I'll tell you what, Watson, for the first time, I've never thought that maybe she did not do it, but that does make perfect sense. I think it could go either way. But what about this? What about this?
Just like Mr. Watson.
Well, what about this? How about she gets there? She tells the guys right off the bat, listen, I want to fuck the three of you right now, but I'm going to tell you before you fuck me that there's a demon chasing me and it's not going to stop, and it was passed down through somebody else.
Back in the water, bitch.
This way she could do it. This way she could do it and not feel guilt because she told them what was up before she had sex with them. She probably also figures they're not going to believe her, but that's their tough luck. So she has a moral pass in her head. That's how I would do it.
See,
This way
Dave,
I
I'm
don't
with
have to
that, except tactically, then she knows, okay, so if these guys, are chilling. Let's say it goes after all three of them, and I actually do believe that condom sex, same sex, whatever, oral, whatever it is, gangbang, I honestly think it'd pass to all of them because of the nature of a sexual contract between people, and what that means is where I think that's the method of transfer going on here. But she didn't get ahead of this thing then. She just went to sleep on the floor. She likes to sleep in weird fucking places, a hood of a car, on the floor next to the bed. You know, it's like, okay, so why aren't you getting ahead of this thing and you just doom these guys. One of them's like, if oh God, if some girl at a bar, you know, separated me from my son and like as a demon that she's attached to or whatever comes after me, I am just gonna find that girl. Okay, but
damn straight.
But dude, like, tactically she fucks up and doesn't get ahead of this thing, which is kind of why I'm sitting here going, I don't think she did. I think like with the hookers, it's a red herring. It's saying, you know, maybe that's out there. We see scenes when she's in the hospital of like I think like a doctor and a nurse, or maybe two nurses, a male nurse and a female nurse, kind of like talking by the locker. We get, you know, the great guy chatting with the girls in the cafeteria. We're getting all these little scenes that say, I don't know, there are ways you can pass it, but I don't think they do in any of these scenes. I don't think he messes with Greg messes with any of the girls he's like sitting there having lunch with while Jay's lying up in bed. I don't think she rocked those dudes on the boat, and if she did, then she sucks. And I don't think he messed with the hookers. I don't know. I don't know if we see an example of them taking advantage of the red herring.
I think you got it. I believe you now.
It all plays back to the Dostoevsky quote earlier on in the film. When faced with inevitable destruction, which is what this is, which is why they don't carry it on, because no matter how far they pass it along, it's inevitable that it'll make its way back to them. Either it or just life itself. Life will end. One would have a great longing to sit down and wait, come what may, which is why Jay is just laying around at times, because it's almost as if she wants it to end. She wants it to get her.
Nice. First off, quoting Dostoevsky is always a good move. That guy was a motherfucker, dude. He was great. Well done, B. So let's build off that here. Do you gentlemen believe that the creature following Jay, that the creature was following Jay and Paul down the sidewalk in that final scene? Because I read somewhere that the presence of the colors red or pink foreshadow the appearance of the creature. Well, as Jay and Paul are taking that walk in that last scene, you know, we're talking about inevitability, B. The person walking behind them has red on their jacket, right? And then, I never noticed this. My son noticed this. As they're passing a gentleman raking leaves in his front yard. Dude's wearing a red flannel. I don't think they kicked it. I think they momentarily defeated it for, you know, buy themselves a little time in the pool. But I think it's it. I think it's it. And it's the subtlety that gives you maybe a little 60-40 ago, and I think it's probably the creature. What do you guys think at the end there? You think they beat it?
No, I think that's always how I thought. But I actually thought it went one step further, that maybe he did go through with the hooker.
Okay.
We just didn't see the inevitable that it probably killed the hooker off, and now it's back after them. And this is time later. But I've always thought that, which is what I said, is why I love that ending, and why this is the scariest of all monsters, in a sense of it will always come to get you, to be repetitive and to essentially ape off what I said earlier. That's exactly why I believe that is it. Now, whether it's a foreshadowing or not, I think it's actually the guy, the actual creature coming.
Cool.
I think I do
too.
What do you think, nothing Dave? To do with colors or anything or whatever you just said, because I didn't know any of that. I disagree. Just there it is. It's showing them together, and it's a perfect way to end it, that it's always going to be pursuing them. And then it got me thinking. It actually might not be. It's a bad ending, a sad ending, but maybe not, because now these two can be swingers, and they could do all kinds of crazy shit together and keep passing it on to other couples. That's what I was thinking.
But this is exactly it. If you're talking about the integrity of the characters, they can't. But then that defeats don't get me wrong. I don't think they ever planned on doing a sequel or this. But the only way you could do this to keep the integrity of their character is by doing a prequel, like It Comes, instead of whatever. However, wouldn't it be great if they did a sequel and it's following all these characters that end up getting offed, and at the end of the movie it comes back to them?
Yeah, I bet
That
you
would be
wanna get off,
fantastic.
don't you?
But then
That would be amazing.
That would
Or-
be
yeah,
amazing.
see,
However, thematically, then they're assholes again because they try to pass it off to rid themselves of the creature.
I think it's a sad and beautiful ending at the same time. It's sad that inevitably it's probably going to destroy them. It's beautiful in the sense that they are not distancing themselves from each other. They're staying together. So if it gets one, it gets both. Because once it gets Paul, it goes right to Jay. And they're holding hands. They're together in this till the end. And they're not swingers. They're not fucking others. They're not.
They can be. And
they can be. They're not. They're not though.
Well, wait a minute. This is what I don't get with
She's
this
now a porn star.
This fucking high moral compass of you three. How is this any different? No, it's true. How is this any different than The Ring? Where at the end of The Ring, they say, all you got to do is get someone else to watch this videotape and then tell them after they've watched it, now all you have to do is take this videotape and get someone else to watch it. Why am I a horrible person? Because if I was a single man, slept with a woman and then she gave it to me and I don't want to die on my daughter. So therefore, I have to survive. And I go out and I do it to someone else to do the same thing. So in The Ring, it doesn't bother you. No one's ever had this conversation where it said, oh, they're terrible people for pushing it on and the videotape's still in the world. How come you people are coming on this freaking moral high ground where I got to feel like a jerk off here?
You people.
Because I'm trying to say that.
What do you mean, you people?
Jews, blacks, or lizards? Thin-skinned lizards.
Bitch.
I hear you, Dave. I hear you.
A bad guy sitting with three freaking choir boys because I think it's okay to pass it on because I want to survive. As long as
you're pretty evil. Tonight's discussion.
Why is that evil?
I don't know.
Would it be evil? Go ahead, tell me.
It's just self-indulgent.
You're just gonna let yourself fucking die.
I'm not gonna let myself die. I'm just not gonna kill anyone else.
Well, then you are doomed. You're destined to die. All you gotta do is go to bed, and even if it is a snail, like freaking C said, you're gonna be dead in like less than a week. It's gonna come and get you. There's no way to escape it. That's the terror of this movie. It's going to come. You're not gonna live long at all, which is why Hugh does what he does. I mean, yes, you do what you do, and then you tell them after, now you have to do the same. How is that any different than The Ring? When they do it in The Ring, and the little boy makes the tape, and at the end, and they pass it on, they say, okay, so you all three, you guys are telling me you would just accept your fate and let this thing get you. You're probably not.
Oh, no. I agree.
I'm
fucking
Christian.
whatever. Yeah. I'm fucking whatever gets in my way.
Does anal count?
Yeah. And what about interspecies?
Hell yeah. I'm gonna get this like nice little dog.
I was gonna say that. Yeah. Oh, you read my mind. What if you fucked a dog? Right. I don't want to kill a dog.
I'm down with that. Well, Dave, speaking to what you're talking about the morality and the ethics, is I'm not going to sit there and lie down and die. But I also don't have faith in other people. Like, I think it's maybe my sort of mistrustful self, and maybe it speaks more to me and my ability to trust that somebody else can dodge this thing before it gets back to me. I trust my defense mechanisms to be able to keep this creature at bay more than I count on some girl who's like, when I asked her on first date, what kind of music do you like? And she's like, I don't know. Like, I'm just like, okay, well, obviously you're going to die. You're not going to be able to dodge this thing. I can dodge it better. I don't trust that if I pass this thing on, that they're going to do a good enough job. It's very functional for me as much as it's moral. I'm not a choir boy. I got a lot of freaking, problematic things when it comes to, what I'm up to, or, what I used to be up to rather with the nature of passing things on. But I don't trust that somebody, that the girl, listen, it's not a very high caliber of women who tend to like me. So I'm thinking this creature's offing them and this thing's back to me anyway. And I just killed somebody in the process. I trust that I can dodge this thing. That's sort of my thing.
That's fine. Why not go to a prostitute then? Why not go to a prostitute? That's a good idea by Paul. And tell them, and then say, hey, now I'm going to put it in your hands. Now, after you have sex with these men, you do what you want. You can tell them before, but now, morally, I can have a clean conscience because I've told you and I've passed it on to one person. Now she's going to have sex with anybody.
Isn't it scarier not having control of it, not knowing when or if it'll get back to you?
That's my thing, is I need that control. And for me, Dave, you're talking, I see where you're coming from, and you're coming from the moral standpoint of, well, the end justifies the means, in that I get this thing away from me and it's not my problem now. And in a way, functionally, that separates you from the problem, and that there is a good defense there. It's just, I think my mistrustful nature is like, no, I need to handle the defense. And maybe anybody I do have sex with in the future, I got to kind of pull a Paul and Jay here and say, okay, we're in this together. So 2 defending ourselves against this creature is better than 1. And that's kind of, it's kind of a tactical thing for me, is what it is, as much as it's moral. I hope that makes sense.
That is cool, because one can watch, they could take sleeping shifts, I suppose.
Yeah, and I'd be hitting up freaking Google Maps, bro, being like, okay, walking time. It takes X amount of time to get to this movie theater over 3 towns over rather than the one by my house. All right, let's go see Midsommar twice, and by the time this thing walks over here, we'll be good. We can go get a pizza and a drink next door, and then drive back to my town, and the thing has to turn back. Like, so I'd be tactical in basically everything I do. I just don't know that everybody else would, and that's kind of where passing it on blindly outside of a relationship, I'd have a hard time with. That's all it is. Like, separating myself from the problem blindly via hooker, dudes on a boat, as you know, would take too much control out of my hands, and that's where I need to be.
I understand.
So it's not moral, as Dave, as much as it's also tactical. There's a blend.
Okay.
Yeah. More importantly, what does Davey think?
Davey.
Oh shit! I found Watson on the internet.
Did he show a picture of a skunk?
No.
Right.
So, guys, can we talk about? I know we got time constraints here.
Yeah,
can we talk about themes? Because I'm so happy. Dave, you didn't build on this yet, but both B and C have said they don't think the sort of the STD. Sort of anti-sex message that some people fall on here works. And I am so with that. So let's talk about the meat on the bone here, guys, that thick and juicy thematic content. So, this movie has that sort of narrative that does lend itself to any number of varying interpretations. The most popular, folks, is that this is an anti-sex, pro-abstinence film that is, reminiscent of those 80s slashers, right? Where sex equals death. It's the socially conservative idea there that has always been that characters engaging in sex, drugs, rock and roll are the ones who have to die, while the morally upright, virginal final girl survives to, fight another day or get killed in the sequel, right? And like you two, and Dave, I don't know where you land on this, I 100% disagree with that as a viable interpretation of this movie. But we got to steelman it. To this argument to validate it, to validate what I'm going to say. So, from a purely functional standpoint, I can see where people are coming from when they slap that interpretation onto this movie, because in the film, literally, sex equals death. And when you think of the demon as a stand-in for an STD and how not having sex would actually stop the spread of this thing, it's easy to see how someone could think of this as an R-rated after-school special, right? That comes out against the practice of, unsafe sex or premarital sex, all those things. All the pieces are there, except for one crucial piece. So let's talk about this. It undoes everything. So, gentlemen, ladies, let's go. The crucial missing piece here of the anti-sex, pro-abstinence argument is the way that this film, and I think B kind of touched on this earlier, it's the way this film approaches sexuality. Earlier I stated, as we all know, that the final girl in a film is often given virginal qualities, right, that stand in direct contrast to, those sluts who are killed off, right? Well, the framework of this interpretation requires that the story take on a disparaging view of sex. Yet, this movie in no way, even once at any point in its runtime, is condemning consensual sexual activity. Not one time does it do that. Our final girl has sex with at least 3 dudes, and the narrative makes not one move to shame Jay in any way for it. Her actions in this regard say nothing about her character as a person. There's a sense of, I guess you'd say, moral neutrality with regards to sex here. It's normalized and isn't cause for alarm or denunciation. Like, that's huge. And it's the key to unlocking what's really happening here underneath this movie's skirt, because there's something happening here. So does that make sense so far? Because there might be no sexual stigmas going on here in the story, but it's not like there isn't baggage happening here, right? With these sexual encounters. if you don't, see it, like, try peeping this film through Paul's eyes. Like, our boy's head over heels in love with Jay and has to watch while she gives her body to two other dudes right in front of him. Basically, you don't want to live this movie through Paul's eyes because it's a bummer until the end. But, like, while this film isn't damning sexual activity, it's also not innocent. Like, sex is – here's what I wanted to say. You guys were asking about, okay, condom sex, same sex, stuff, oral, gangbang. Like, sex is a physical contract between people that plays out in the most intimate fashion possible. And this brand of intimacy might just come with a price sometimes. And that price is this demon. It's this immensely personal physical contract through which I think this demon passes, which is why I think it can be passed on to all the guys at the boat, at that boat at once, or, gay stuff or condoms or whatever, or, through Christian's beloved strap-on method. And so I think when all is said and done, and tell me if you guys agree with this. My final just thing here, I know I'm going on a monologue, but here's my final thesis statement here.
Monologue.
I think that this is a film about lingering insecurity. Yeah, sorry about that. I just have a lot to say. This film is about lingering insecurity in the scheme of a sexually progressive youth culture. It's pro-sex, but there's still that insecurity there. There's nothing here that's actually sexually regressive other than the fact that sex has baggage and can mess with even the best of us at times. Hell, Dave and I had a big conversation about sex versus movie violence on one of the WotC episodes. And Dave, we had a member, and I don't want to say who this person is, who is in a polyamorous marriage, and this person wrote us saying, even this person wrote saying, you know what? There is still insecurity in that subculture. Sometimes there's jealousy. Sometimes there's baggage that still comes with it, even though we have open contracts. I think that's what this movie's touching on more than, abstinence or this is an STD. There's insecurity even as we distance ourselves from the puritanical sex culture. What do you guys think of that?
I like it. I have no issue with that take. I'm looking at it much simpler as what's the first act that we do in life that really identifies us as an adult, and that's usually losing our virginity or having sex. It's the first thing you do, usually as a teenager, young teenager, older teenager, whatever. And that's the first time you become an adult and become aware of like your own mortality. I'm just going to stick with straightforward that they use sex as the catalyst. I love everything you just said. I'm just going to look at it much simpler and just using sex as the catalyst for coming face to face with your own mortality and not being able to outrun it. It's inevitable. It's certain. Another quote that's used that Yar talks about later on, and that all the physical pain, mental suffering, the one thing that's certain is that it is certain, and that's death. And you become aware of that as you grow up, and that first act in growing up and becoming an adult and becoming aware of these types of things are having sex. And sex can give life, and sex can also take life, I guess. If you look at it, STD, procreation, I'm sure there's a lot there. I don't think I have the mental capacity to deep dive as much as you, but there's a lot of good stuff there.
Cool. Man, that was beautiful.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Were you basically saying at the start of that because of the way Jay is portrayed as someone who doesn't necessarily sleep around, that is why you think that this is not an anti-message?
Yeah, this film normalizes sexual activity and doesn't look down on it. I don't think at any point we're meant to look down on Jay or think, oh my God, what a whore. It's kind of cool in that it's just like, well, this is what she's up to. But there's still baggage, even if you're a sexually progressive person. There's still like, I used to have this girlfriend who was just like, so just hated my past, and I didn't have half the past she had. But she was still, we run into an ex-girlfriend of mine or something at the store, and she's just been out of shape for the next week. And it's like, I know your ex-husband, shut up. I don't think that there's any point where this film is looking down on sex, except to say, because of these intimate physical contracts that we make sometimes, baggage can sometimes come from that. Lingering insecurity that's always following you.
Well, here's something.
Tell it.
Okay. First of all, as far as the sex message, I never bought into it, mostly because I don't want to. but I could see somebody else watching it and taking that from it. But me, that kind of ruins the film for me if that's what it was going for. So I don't even like to think about it as I'm watching a movie or entertain it. That's
Well, it doesn't hold water either. You know.
Well, hold on. Let me tell you why it may.
Okay.
Because the character of Jay, whose real name is Jamie, by the way,
Jamie,
which I find ridiculous because I've never known a person named Jamie that goes by the name of Jay. And just
Start
to be
calling
sure,
Jamie Salmon's Jay.
I asked her about it the other day. Has anybody ever called you Jay? She said no. I said I didn't think so. So anyway, here are the things about Jay that it may seem. I don't know. I think there's a couple scenes where she does come off as promiscuous, and I'll tell you why. There's this one. It's a real quick thing. When they're talking about how she is, they ask a question. They're sitting on the porch, the three of them, the other three people, the main people, and Paul asks her sister about it, and she's where is she? Oh, she's out on a date, and they go, oh yeah, something. And he said someone new, and then he goes, oh, of course. To me, that's saying she's like a flavor of the month girl. There's always somebody new coming around. Okay.
Sure.
Then later on, there's a conversation that she has with Paul when he's trying to sleep with her. And she's not entertaining the idea, probably because she doesn't want him to be attached, and she cares for him as a person and all that. But then you go, well, why did you choose Greg? And then she was like, well, we slept together in high school. It was no big deal. To me, those two statements there kind of make her seem like a little bit of a promiscuous girl. No?
Dave, I'm with you on that, but are we meant to see promiscuity as a morally neutral or morally, bad thing? And I think that's where the key is here, because I agree with everything you said. And I actually, on this fourth viewing, noticed that too. Noticed those things you said. But if we're not meant to see her possible promiscuity as a bad thing, now if the film wants to push on us like, I don't know, she's a bit of a hoe bag, I don't think she's a great lead character, I don't think the film does that. I think that it is treating sex neutrally. I
agree. I agree with it. They're not portraying her as a hoe bag, quote unquote, but there is mention that their family's messed up and that it's like a broken home, or I guess because the father's dead and the mom seems to be working constantly or something. Because that one girl in the neighbor's house, the guy that she sleeps with later, says that family's so messed up. And so they are kind of, maybe not directly, well, no, in that case, I think directly kind of making it sound like it's a white trashy type thing.
Sure. But I don't know if that points to Jay's promiscuity specifically, other than maybe baggage of the family unit itself. Like, oh my God, there used to always be arguments across the street. We've seen the cops over there before. But I don't know that necessarily points to Jay's sexual activity as a specific thing to condescend to.
Vilify.
Look, the cops are there because Dad's on the roof exposing his bush to the neighborhood.
Christian's mouth watering.
I think it could fit either narrative. That's what I'm trying to say. I think if you look at this movie from that standpoint and say this is saying that promiscuity is bad and these people are passing it on. So if you are someone on the other side of the fence that isn't one of us watching it saying because of those comments made, I could say, oh, see, she's so casual about her sex. She slept with this guy in high school. She's a flavor of the month girl. Maybe this is what happens. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that what we do see in the film, it's like politics. Going into it, you're only going to believe how you want to interpret it. It's the way it is. So I think that I appreciate the way you're coming with it. And I'm saying I'd rather side with you, but I also think that you can't tell somebody who already feels that way that this is the message because of those couple of sentences that are uttered in the movie. I think they have a case. That's all I'm saying for their side.
What about it's all mental illness, Dave?
Jesus Christ. No, and there is, Dave, an argument to be made for that, but then the onus of sort of the argument of responsibility has to fall on them to explain why this movie is sort of treating sex in an almost, sex might equal death in a sort of functional and physical sense in the movie, but I don't know that we're ever actually, and I think if somebody could argue why we aren't looking at a sexually empowering film, if they can actually say, here are the reasons why, these characters are actually bad people for treating sex casually or for just even doing what kids do. then I think they would sound very out of touch, like early 80s freaking, Al Gore's wife or something trying to ban video nasties and shit. And I don't think anybody in this day and age is up to that.
Oh, I disagree. I think there are many.
Okay, hold on, Dave. Never mind I said that last sentence because we are in an outrage culture. But those outrage people on Twitter, which isn't real life, by the way, are the people who empower sex. That's at least one of their arguments they're down with.
True.
Sex is life and life is death, and that's what it all means in the end.
Oh, yeah. Hell, the French word for orgasm is
Speaking of the end,
petit mort, which means little death. Yeah.
Indeed. Speaking of the end, we have to get to the end of the show because Christian has to go.
Yeah.
We've done our thing.
Oh, yeah. Great review, guys. Man, folks, if you've ever looked down on Exploding Heads for for any of the obvious reasons, you got to stop. They're good looking too. You guys aren't seeing what I'm seeing. Man, these are handsome guys. Dave.
Oh, they know that already. Oh. They know that.
My initial complaint of this movie was one scene. I'm going to say it quick, and I'm going to give my rating. I always give it a 9.5, not a 10, because of one reason. Because when Hugh, what a ridiculous name to choose if you're going to have a fake name, Hugh. I knew one Hugh in my life when me and my brother were kids, and my little brother used to tease him and call him Barbecue. Anyway, Hugh. Anyway. And his response was, well, I'm not a barbecue. Anyway, so Hugh, what a dumb fake name. He drops this girl off, and it always bothered me that he kind of threw her on the ground like a sack of potatoes, like a piece of garbage, and said, took off. That's just going to make his character look worse. Why do that? But then it occurred to me, he doesn't want these people to remember what he looks like because he doesn't want to be found. So now I understand why he did that. So because of that, I finally can bring this up from a 9.5 to a 10 out of 10. I love this movie. American classic. It's fucking great. There you go.
Wow.
Nice.
Yep.
I'm almost there. I'll go 9.5, which has come up significantly from the first couple of watches. Like I said, I enjoy this more each and every time. It was a great discussion. I am sorry because I am the reason why we have to cut this short because I got to get going here. But it was shockingly good to have Watson on. I wasn't looking forward to it, but I think you dropped some good knowledge here today, Watson. So thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, I've actually come up a little bit on it as well. I'm right there with you, Christian. I've come up from a 9 to a 9.5. It's subjective. It's my own personal feeling. I feel like the scenes where we see it attacking Jay and you get the point of view of the friends and the hair going, it just takes me out of it a tiny bit. It's a subjective thing. It doesn't hurt the story in any way. It's still a fantastic movie. 9.5 out of 10. The ambient noise in this movie, the soundtrack, the sound design, the setting, everything. It's all, from a technical standpoint, it's perfect, and from a storytelling, it's damn near perfect too.
Well said, man. Like, you know what? This is my fourth time seeing it. Favorite viewing of the film so far. When I saw it, I think I was at like the very first time in the festival run. I was like, oh, this is fine. And then the hype hit. I was like, wow, I didn't realize this was going to be the American classic that suddenly everybody was saying it was. But hype is just its own thing. And I think I was at like a 7.5. Saw it again. I was at an 8. Saw it for the third time. I think I went up to an 8.5. And I think, you know, as we talked it out, we broke into the themes and how kind of this movie just has a lot of you can apply a lot of different things to it, and it can hold water in so many different ways. And I'm up from my 8.5 to a 9. I think this movie just keeps getting better for me each time I watch it because there's so much thematically here to question, ethical arguments, moral this and that's. And man, when a movie can get you talking like that and get you thinking about something that somebody could just go, I don't know, it's about somebody following somebody. I don't know. That's an accomplishment. So
yeah, I like that. That's perfect. Well said. Yeah. That's multiple interpretations hold water, which usually, again, something I'm not usually a fan of, but in this case, it works.
The pool scene.
Well,
it holds water.
Off this movie is the pool scene. Yes. I will never like it. But everything else though, man, this is a movie that has rich themes, rich characters, rich filmmaking. This is good stuff. And thanks for having me, gentlemen, so I could come on and talk about this movie.
We had no choice.
I know B extended the invite, then I asked Dave, and C, we left you out of the equation because who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
You sort of weaseled your way into that invite.
Sorry, listeners.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Watson, do you have anything you want to plug before you go?
No, I haven't podcasted in a while. I'm just chilling these days. Hopefully folks will have a Watsy out for you in the next, little while. But, I'm chilling, just chilling with my buddies talking movies, man. That's what it's about. Oh, and by the way, Dave and folks out there, if you know horror movie podcasts, former host Jay the Dead has his show Considering the Cinema. Dave and I made an appearance on that a couple months ago that is going to be, I believe, maybe the next episode of Considering the Cinema. So you can catch us mixing it up with horror movie podcast Stone Jay the Dead, and it was a great convo.
And
we'll
please,
consider listening.
Do not consider renting a room at the Zendano house because apparently he will fuck you and gaslight you.
He'll show you a haunted mirror and be like, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll just think about it. It'll cross my mind.
He is on Airbnb, though.
Evil thoughts do not necessarily equal evil deeds. That's all I'm saying. I can't help it.
What about Mr. Deeds?
Or Dirty Deeds. I'm looking forward to our take of this movie, which is Snail Trail. That's going to be our 11th film. Which we're doing.
Awesome. Is that Snail Trail over there saying about me? Anyway, we got to go. We got to get out of here. Next show is 122. We're going to talk It Chapter 1 and 2 and the movie Host, another 2020 film. So thank you all. We love you all very, very much. Watson, we love you too. And we're so glad you got to get here.
Short
Better
time.
late than
We tolerate you.
Yeah.
Well, I love you guys too.
So we'll see you all later. Goodbye.
Peace.
Thank you. Peace out.
Love you long time.
You say no.